You never know until it happens. Ain't a thing you see coming a mile away. But suddenly lightning somehow got into the bottle. Now you need to move fast to make it stay. You should hurry to loving now. You should hurry to loving now. It's gonna get better, it's gonna get worse. One day is a blessing, the next is a curse. But that's how it is, that's how love's supposed to feel. Like God and the devil have struck a deal. never know until it happens.
Hey, good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you're watching. But either way, good SMITE. That's what's going on right here. Tom and Taco bringing you the minor league business. Fantastic stuff on the docket today.
And we have a lot of exciting matchups, but the one big one that I think everybody's really keeping an eye out for these minor league matchups is going to be Armada versus Very Nice to Me. Of course, we've got to make it through Anxiety Onset against Pablo also. Well, at least those were the former team names. Now they are actually known as Ranked All-Stars and Sanguine.
Yeah, we're going to see Very Nice to Be in Armada a little bit later. And, of course, those two, whoever wins, is coming here to LAN. Going to represent the minor league, the North American minor league, of course, here in Alpharetta. Go ahead and see who's going to be winding up on top. Their European counterpart, of course, no surprise, Insignum.
And Insignum have definitely been itching to get revenge against the North American minor league, I believe, considering how things went the last time they came here towards the end of that spring split. So it'll be really interesting to see how they actually try to adapt in comparison to the spring split over into summer. But, of course, that's for the North American minor league team to figure out whenever we find out who's actually coming.
We got to get there one step at a time. As we said, the newly named Ranked All-Stars versus Sanguine is going to be our first matchup. Very excited for this one. So, you know what? Without further ado, let's get right to it. Game number 1 between Sanguine and Ranked All-Stars on the way. Sanguine with the first selection overall.
And Sanguine being in that first pick selection leads me to believe that they are definitely going to try and prioritize maybe the Athenas or possibly even Chang'e. We've seen a lot of prioritization towards some of these global presence gods and the Sustain.
And the Sustain is, I think, where Sanguine's mind is at with that first band, Serket. Now, don't get me wrong, Serket is a strong character in her own right, but certainly tilted more towards the tank-killing aspect of the world and the anti-sustain aspect of the world with Last Breath. So knocking that one out in addition to the Thoth, I think, is kind of letting us know what's on the mind of Sanguine.
You pretty much can imagine that they want to make sure that they don't have to worry about these extended range gods. Thoth relatively safe with that evade and punish, able to create so much spacing, and also having the stun can be really annoying in terms of trying to play up aggressively. I like that Ranked All-Stars made sure to respond, though, by removing the Achilles and the Chang'e. They also don't want to deal with close range. And the Agni should also help serve as a bit of a preventative factor. If Sanguine try to play a little bit too aggressive, you've got to keep in mind that you could still get stunned out.
Agni is also a great choice against the first pick, Chernobog. Chernobog, the way he works with the ultimate, he teleports to not the enemy god. He teleports to a shadow that goes next to the enemy god, which is an important distinction because when you're playing Agni, when the shadow gets on you and you know that Chernobog's coming, you can then make some distance and dash away, and it's a nice counter to what Chernobog's trying to do with that ultimate. Paired up with Sylvanas and Ratatasker, Chernobog's going to have plenty of setup for what he wants to do, and certainly will scale nicely into the late game.
A big thing I'm looking out for here on that Ratatasker is that you have that semi-global presence on top of the Chernobog, who's already got the full global presence. So positioning will be really important for Ranked All-Stars if their composition is going to try and specialize in their zoning and spacing control, which is what I am really getting the picture of between the Xbalanque, Cerberus, and Agni. So much control over the Stingent Torment into those bombs, plus you still, like we already mentioned, have the Agni stun to keep in mind, and Darkest Night's only going to add to the chaos.
Yeah, Darkest of Night's one of the best abilities in the entire game, if you ask me. Just the ability to turn off communication at a competitive level, definitely one of the stronger things you can do in the game of SMITE. And looking at Xbalanque, strong again in his own right, just able to kind of swing nuts with that ultimate, or excuse me, with the passive. Xbalanque going to fit in well, and Chernobog, a nice late game character with his attack speed stim, certainly going to have a tall order trying to deal with this guy. So Terra going to join the ranks of the Ranked All-Stars in our second round of bans. Sanguine looking at the global presence from Athena, and you know what? I think you can kind of call Susano global because of how fast he moves around the damn map, and the Sobek and the Ra.
He's fairly mobile. I think you just also don't want to have to worry about the wind siphon when you're a Ratatosker, because if you land off that through the Cosmos, you're looking for the knock-up into the Acorn Blast typically. That way you get the knock-up into the stun. But Susano possibly introducing heavy interrupt factors. There's already so much zone control or space control with this draft that Ranked All-Stars have opted for, and Nemesis just adding to the mix. I like this because it's clear that Ranked All-Stars can, in fact, create that spacing in the jungle throughout those team fights, but they can also look for the heavy pick confirmation and execution.
I like the Nemesis here against the Nox. Now, Nox, if you're thinking about the Reflect Shield right away, it will be knocked off because of the crowd control silence, but having a character that can also lean on basic attacks versus a silence-oriented character, certainly a nice look. So Sanguine definitely looking for the late game. Now, Ymir and Ratatask are going to hold the mid game a little bit more appropriately, though. Ranked All-Stars, on the other hand, still very, very late game. Agni will help out during the mid game. Who do you think winds up on top as far as the draft is concerned?
I'm leaning a little bit more towards ranked All-Stars composition just because it feels a bit more forgiving in terms of execution. I think that you can play off of either the Nemesis ultimate or, in case that doesn't pan out very well for you, then you just go for the sheer damage route.
Big X factor with the Nox, though. That character can either succeed, sink, or swim is usually what we see with Nox. Sanguine, ranked All-Stars, game number 1. Ready, set, go.
Thanks a lot, analysts. And yeah, this is going to be a big game for the Nox, because obviously high skill cap, but high reward. Gold Miser joining me for this one today. You ready for this?
Yeah, I'm kind of pretty excited. It kind of feels like a control composition versus just a turn and burn kind of composition. And I feel like they both have their merits. It's just going to be all execution based for Sanguine.
Well, as we get into game as well, I wanted to tell you more about the control composition, because you're going to be talking about Sanguine here with how much CC they have with these Guardians.
So much. I mean, they have the freeze coming down, and of course Nox being able to have the silence, essentially being able to stun people by herself. If Mineral and iFates can just keep hitting their abilities, they're not going to have too many issues overall. Shadowlock is going to be relatively big. I think that's the harder one to hit. Obviously, Siphon Darkness is huge, so you don't have to worry too much about connecting with that.
Well, we'll find out exactly what happens then going into this game. Amawel in the jungle on the Agni. Nope, he's actually going to be in the mid lane. Okay, it's fine. I actually thought for a second he was actually jungling, and I was like, wait a second, what's going on here? I think this is going to be an interesting one with the amount of CC then that Sanguine do have here. If they can find their combinations together, they will have a very good time of things. I actually wish, instead of the Nemesis, and I understand why they picked it here, Gormize, because it's good against those Guardians, that maybe they went for a Raven, you know, for that immunity during combat, the overhead kick would have allowed him to escape a lot of the CC chains that could be available from Sanguine.
And also with Raven, something like being able to look towards shutting down healing towards the late game. Deal with that Sylvanas. That's something that they're kind of missing overall. I expect Divine Ruin at some point will more than likely come out for this Agni, just because when it does get to that late game, especially with those team fights, that Sylvanas healing, especially with 2 Guardians, is going to make it incredibly difficult to try and burn through Sanguine's health.
Well, left-hand side at the start of the game, you did see that Bibek and Freeze on the ranked All-Stars went and started their red buff. Their purple was stolen by Sybil and Diesel in response, and that's actually given the Sylvanas and Chernobog lane pressure, but it's no real surprise to see them get lane pressure with the 2 gods they've selected.
I mean, you have Sylvanas, who just by himself, I think, is enough to really give you advantage. And then you have the Chernobog, who is, as of late, has been pretty much dominant. I haven't seen people deal with him that well early on unless they get an early gank, but you can kind of see the fact that Sanguine are trying to keep the jungle busy, either by stripping it away or forcing pressure somewhere else on the map so that this Nemesis doesn't really have a choice but to ignore them.
Now, once they hit level 2-3, the ranked All-Stars in that dual lane, it will swing back a little bit. Terra comes into her own around the level 2-3 mark as well. We'll find out how that works out. Solo laners, Ymir versus Cerberus. One of those matchups where no one's really going to die here, but there's plenty of meat on those bones.
That's one of those matchups that you really wait for the rotation, right? The entire lane phase, Ymir, I think, has the advantage early on, and then eventually it just comes out to a stalemate. It's going to be 2 Guardians who are not going to do any damage to each other, especially if they go into their magical protection first. So they're going to be sitting over here, potentially looking at like half a tower, but the rotations that they make are going to be way more impactful. The ult coming down from Oswald or just the freeze from iFates could make or break a team fight.
Do you reckon he chose this skin so he could have a tail as well? Is that what happened here?
He was like, all right, you want to have a tail?
I want a tail too, so I'm just going to pick this. I could have picked Sobek, but no, I'm going to go with the Ymir. I actually think Sobek was banned, actually. But
that skin is closer to Sobek, and since Sobek was banned, he was like, this is the closest I can get to him.
Absolute closest. I mean, what else is there that you could get closer than that with Sobek? Don't think there is.
Unless someone has a lizard skin. I guess maybe the monster skin that
Sobek has?
No, I'm forgetting the other one, the turtle, whose name has completely
Kuzumbo. It's been a while, isn't it, since you've been in here? You can't remember Kuzumbo's name? That's crazy. Right-hand side, though.
I don't meme hard enough.
Pressure coming out as iFates rotated with the support of Face to invade and steal away the blue buff from the ranked All-Stars jungle. However, Born in the mid lane going to look towards Mineral. Mineral dashes back towards safety, and that's all she wrote. Both the mid laners are now hitting level 5.
And this is going to be bigger. I want to say more for Emuel than it is for Mineral. Mineral, I mean, that ult can do a lot in terms of control and being able to kind of tick people off towards the tail end of a fight. But having those meteors for a setup, having that stun available to you easily is going to help set up Nemesis, at least make it a little bit easier for maybe something to start happening.
Oh, some aggression from the All-Stars going in onto the Sylvanas and Diesel, but Diesel doing a good job of poking down Phrason, who gets pulled. And those beads were burnt on the Jabberlonke. And guess what? Face on the rotation. I thought for a second he might think about it, but I believe Sanguine just called off the gank attempt on the left-hand side.
And I kind of like the call. Face is relatively low mana, didn't even have enough. If he had enough to get his ult, maybe he goes in and just hopes that the auto attacks are going to be enough. But it's in that area of like, Sybil's not high enough health. Let's just heal up. We've got control. We're not worried.
I guess at the same time as well, both the supports do have the sprint too, so would have been cancelled out. If they get that sprint off, they may have been able to get away with a lack of mana on Face. So good call there for the time being. Sanguine just doing what they can in this game. They're the favourites coming into this. Ranked All-Stars had a couple of name changes throughout the season. A couple of roster changes throughout the season too. Not seen many of these around. I've not really seen many of these in the ranked games. But here comes Face, looking towards Big Beck, and no beads available as he has that sprint, which was used. Big Beck falls, and now Phrason in trouble too as Diesel, with the ultimate from base, the Living Nightmare comes into play, and a double kill now for Ratatoska in the jungle.
And that was the opening you wanted, because you burned the sprint. Beads were already burned for the Jabberlonke, so you know everything's going to be open once you get down, and now you have the mana to actually chase them, and I think that was the big difference maker for Face there, was just deciding, can I actually keep up with it once, like you said, that sprint's popped, no mana, they just run away, you feel kind of like a fool, because you just used your entire ult for it. This time around, he chases them down, they get 2 kills, and they're feeling comfortable. Fate's maybe a little bit too comfortable.
Yeah, a little bit over-aggressive looking for this blue. Now he's going to get ulted by Bjorn, but he gets a very good freeze-off. And the beads from Born weren't the greatest to follow it up. Born out of mana here, but Oswald has his ultimate. Fate cancels that out with an ult of his own. Bombs rain down from a Manuel, but that's not going to be enough as in goes Face.
Now just looking for that tail damage. Unfortunately, the tower's right there, and it doesn't seem like they're ready to aggress quite under it. So I think Agni's going to be able to walk away with his life right here, but Nox is not holding back. Oswald is trying to fight because he just doesn't want to lose. I guess the experience, the blue buff, that is going to be taken away as well. So a lot that was on the line for him, and he still ends up losing it.
Yeah, main thing is, though, Fates went aggressive on that blue buff, and his team still managed to secure it without losing any lives. Diesel on this left-hand side. I think he might have an idea something fishy's going on here. There was a couple of wards in the jungle on this left-hand side to make sure ranked All-Stars are caught trying to pick him off here. Notice how he's hugging towards the wall as well, so he can do exactly what I expected him to do just there. Dash in the wall, get away, back to safety.
Keep himself completely isolated so that Terra can't do anything to control him. And he doesn't have to burn his beads. That was one of the things coming into that. He's safe no matter what. Just like, okay, if you stun me, I just pop my beads and dash away. But now he doesn't even have to have that. He keeps it on cooldown.
One of the benefits of the Chenabug, though, and the downsides to him, is that you can be cancelled out of that dash into the wall. Yeah. So if you try and jump towards that, hold that thought. Living Nightmare used early for a cooldown reset from Diesel. The follow-up damage is there onto Phrason and Big Beck, but the ultimate was used from Terra to answer that back. 1 for 1, or should I say 2 for 1, as both the dual lane of ranked All-Stars used their ultimates there.
You're going to be able to get out of that with Sybil still having his ult. So Diesel, I want to say, admittedly, probably one of the bigger ults of at least the 2 hunters.
Sure.
Phrason can affect a lot of the map with his ult. It can actually save or kill a teammate, depending on what happens. But having that rotation factor from the Chernobog makes a big difference, especially as the team fights are starting to break out here.
Yeah.
They're going to be coming in soon. So burning that one's not going to be the end of the world. It's not going to be the best thing either.
Definitely one of those compositions of, like, those two hunters specifically will always make impacts.
Yeah.
Across the map in some way, with the slows from the Nightmare and the worry of him jumping in. Although, you know, the loss of vision from Phrason can really make an impact too. Not being able to see is an important factor. It doesn't affect Nox or Nemesis in this game, however. I mean, it does, but it shouldn't.
Yeah. I feel like, and they can't see anyway. Although Nemesis, I mean, she's probably not worried about it. I wonder how they get around the map so well, actually.
Feel more than anything else, I guess. Well, Fate's in the jungle now, surrounded, a little
corner.
bit awkward in his positioning, but him and Mineral combined to pick up Amuel really quickly for free, and now Mineral has to run away. Face is on the rotation. Face comes in, looks towards Oswald. Oswald now in pressure. Takes a lot of damage from Mineral, and the spin at the end will get another kill for FaZe. That's 3 for him, and a surrender vote has already begun.
That was just good positioning when it came down to it. I mean, you see iFates, he gets burned because I think he was a little bit too aggressive, but FaZe and Mineral approached that fight properly. We're just like, we can't really stop him enough to burn him unless you get ahead of him. You get in front of him, you body block, I can then root him. All of a sudden, he can't go anywhere anyway. He has no choice but to take all of that damage, and he gets locked down in the jungle. Both solo laners trading out, probably feeling relatively confident. I'd want to say a little bit more towards iFates just because he's the first death for his team.
Well, this is the second to last SMITE minor league game we're going to be showing for the summer split. One more to come later on today to work out who could be coming towards the LAN. But this is a good way for Sanguine to end their split so far up against the ranked All-Stars. They're looking pretty solid in this one so far. Just that one tumble in the jungle from Fates, who was a little bit far forward, as Diesel takes on Phrazon.
Now just a couple more shots should find it, but that is going to showcase exactly why that ult from Xbalanque can do so well in terms of the fight. It's not going to save him enough, but it can at least stall some of the pressure.
Diesel, though, they're using that Living Nightmare aggressively. Remember, he does get some extra protections when he ults down, so he takes less damage. So those tower shots would have normally killed him there, but at the same time, you can see the damage mitigation buff. It scales up as time goes on, so he was taking 20% less damage from that tower.
40% once he hits level 20 is huge in terms of that. Early on, you know, a couple tower shots is what you take. Late on, you jump into 3 members and you don't care.
And this is the issue with having a Nemesis against the Ymir, because the CC chains can shut down the shields, which is your main line of defense. Ultimate out from Mineral there too as FaZe jumps in, but FaZe low on mana and just has to get the basics off in time. FaZe picks up Oswald there too, and this is becoming a rout very quickly in game 1. The Guardians and the Nox are actually causing a lot of problems.
The best way to describe what Sanguine has been able to accomplish. Again, it was controlling from their ult, but that was just systematic. It was just, okay, you're the target, you're the target, you're the target. It was just a checkbox that they were just ticking off every single time. Ranked All-Stars didn't really have, I want to say, options there. They weren't given the options. A beautiful wall from iFates. Again, all you have to do is just keep your control. It's a little bit higher execution overall than what Ranked All-Stars have, but so far they've been doing it pretty much spot on.
Beads used by Phrazon just to escape the extra damage. Diesel still giving chase, and Phrazon's going to have to fall back to base or play very safe under his tier 1 tower here. And the problem is for Ranked All-Stars, when I'm looking at this, as Bjorn goes aggressive, but just hides in the wall, dashes away. He's still going to fall down here, Diesel, unless he can make a huge play for himself. Maybe Sybil can make that happen.
Now he's going to go for the knockup, and immediately the rotation gets the kill. Bourne, that's one of those moments. I think they burned it earlier on, but that's one of the ones that a surrender vote would start up, just because like you thought you had the kill. You were so sure of it, and you were so wrong.
The biggest problem now for the Ranked All-Stars in this game, Gormizer, is, well, what do you do as a jungler? You've lost most of your jungle, you're 3 levels down, and you look at your side lanes and your mid lane and you go, everyone's behind. Where do I even try and pressure here?
And that's another big problem, is that you think, well, I'm Nemesis. So ideally, you're going to go after someone like iFates, someone like Sybil. You want to try to burn them. And if you can get rid of iFates, maybe that starts setting up your at least solo lane for success.
Yeah.
But, okay, you walk over, he freezes you, your entire push is done.
Well, FaZe is going to be ganking the solo lane himself before we could even see Bourne turn up, and the CC chain on Oswald is pretty solid. The wall, however, is something to be required, but the ultimate actually from Oswald cost him his life as he pulled FaZe under the tower and to his own demise. 10-1, approaching 12 minutes in, and the goal view is being done by 2 carries. Sybil's on his way to support, but nobody from all Ranked All-Stars is here apart from Amuel. I can't get his name right for the life of me. Sanguine, get the goal fury.
And I feel like Sybil and all of that really was just I'm going to come over and like heal you guys back up after this so you don't have to back immediately. 3-0-3, 1-0-4 right now for the mid lane and the ADC over here. And Sanguine don't seem too worried about it. Sybil actually going to go for the knockup.
Well, Ranked All-Stars really got a nice introduction, a little bit more so, to the SMITE minor league and the sort of level of play they're going to have to play up to at the moment. They're at the bottom of the minor league, and you can see that they're going to have a bit of trouble getting to grips with this. Tier 1 tower in the mid lane is getting low as Phrazon takes on Diesel. Level 12 versus level 10 here. No ultimate available for Diesel, and I don't even think he's going to need it here. He's going to pressure out Phrazon yet again. He's going to fully stack Devour his gauntlets. Meanwhile, the rest of his team, Ymir and iFates, are taking down the right-hand side, looking to pick on Oswald again, who the poor guy's just after his blue buff here.
This is one of those things for Ranked All-Stars. Oswald is probably the one player, I think, he's been around a while and been playing kind of flirting with this level of play for a long time. He's come in and out of the scene. But then when you look at Sanguine, iFates, Mineral, Diesel, Sybil, like a lot of these guys on Sanguine have been here for a while. And so this is pretty common.
Under a lot of pressure, and finally a second kill of the game goes the way of the Agony. Mineral still under pressure by 2 characters, but jumps inside his teammate iFates for support, and with a wall drop and a walk away, they'll live to fight another day, or not yet. They're still going to go for this cheeky red.
I love the idea that Mineral pops out. He's like, all right, maybe 2 hits from death. I have literally no mana. I'm going to go for the steal anyway. Let's see if we can get it, just to see if we can get that tilt factor. I mean, we're winning 14-2. What's a red buff actually going to make the big difference overall? Ranked All-Stars do get it, but so far I haven't seen Amuel do too much to make a big difference on Agni.
You can start to see the itemization difference between the 2 teams now as well. It's 9,000 gold at 14 minutes, and that's a huge chunk of change to be in the lead for, especially in Season 5, where Snowball's not really a thing anymore unless you let it happen and you can't stem any sort of bleeding.
It's that idea that if you're going to win, you can cultivate that lead, right? And then you can nurture it into something that will find success. And I feel like that's where a lot of those teams so far in the minor league have kind of suffered, is they'll get the lead and then they don't know how to maintain it. They don't know how to get a good hold of it and not let the other team take it away. Sanguine right now are not letting Ranked All-Stars even touch their lead.
I mean, Ranked All-Stars is the composition they put together here. The composition is not bad by any stretch of the imagination. The later this game goes up, the stronger this will become. But at the moment, the experience, the gold, definitely a huge factor. The Sanguine can just continue to pressure. And talking about that pressure, they're looking at Phazon, who's currently 4 levels down against Diesel, and Mineral's in the jungle hanging around. As in comes Face in the jungle, looking for a pick on Bjorn again, who's rooted in place and brought down again. Had beads available, didn't use them, and meanwhile the tier 2 tower is being whittled down by Diesel.
And Darkest of Nights is way more effective up against the range than it is going to be up against Face, and that's going to be the dash in from Diesel, looking for potentially that last hit to be able to get the kill onto Big Tech there. They get the tier 2 over and left. They don't need to get the tier 2 in right, since they can't just yet, so they can pressure out, maybe look for the tier 2 in mid, or just get some kills.
Mineral's not even done here, just CC chain after CC chain, lock in the Agony in place. And proxy between a tier 2 tower as now iFates rotates from the solo lane after coming back from base to help bring this minion wave down for a second tier 2. That's 2 tier 2 towers in under 16 minutes. It's almost time to be looking at game 2. I mean, to be fair, I think it was 5 minutes ago.
There's a certain point, 13,000 gold, that's a pretty big number.
Yeah.
You can come back from 13,000, but it is going to be the hardest game. Like, that takes us from 15 minutes to 50 minutes. You have to last forever. It's really that experience. Like, once you have 16k gap between you at 17-2, that's when you start looking at game number 2, because you're like, we can't even fight them. We're 4 or 5 levels behind everyone on their side.
Fire Giant now on Sanguine too, so another task as Born in the mid lane was taking a fight there that he was a little bit risky with. Face was low on health, granted, but he's after the farm more than the kills. Kills don't get you farm these days. It's not worth that much. You will get a little bit of gold from a shutdown bonus, but that's all she wrote there. There's 1 tower on the left-hand side being looked at by Ranked All-Stars now. They've got enough players, well, enough characters there to actually bring that tower down, but they're a little bit worried about the rotation, and rightly so. Fates was over here at level 17.
That, I think, is the story, right? Where it's just like, we have 2 people, we could easily take this tier 2.
But
one Ymir could come over and kill both of us with no problem.
And
Like, he has no sweat.
Yep.
And so you have to take all of your approach, this powerful composition you have, and you're worried about trying to use any of it.
Yep. Prehensile Tails OP. That's what we've learned, at least from Ymir's point of view here. Now with the tier 2 tower not being here, I like the fact that they've switched to having iFates in the dual lane because there's no towers. He can just hold this lane as long as possible against these 2, while the rest of his team can focus on the right-hand side and bring down the remaining towers in this game. You can already see the tier 1 tower being focused as Oswald pressured out, has Blink and forced to use it defensively there, and in goes Living Nightmare of Diesel, looking for the kill on Oswald as Fates is taking on 2 on the left-hand side. In comes Fates with the dunk, but the Aegis immunes a lot of that damage. He's still going to fall, though, to make it 18-2.
And it's just one of those moments, iFates, there's really one job he had for all of this. He didn't even need the kill. The kill's just kind of like the cherry on top. He was just distract the duo lane. Keep them from coming over here and defending. Keep them out of this fight while we just push every last tower Ranked All-Stars have. And now you're picking up kills. You're going to be able to chase them down. There's fights pretty much scattered all around. Ranked All-Stars are either locked in their Phoenix or looking like they might die near Goldfield.
I actually have a feeling the way this game began and what exactly went wrong for the Ranked All-Stars, I think, is Born getting so far behind on the Nemesis. A lot of that happened because the duo lane out of Ranked All-Stars started at red, had their purple invaded and lost pressure on the duo side. But because they lost so much on the left and Sanguine went aggressive on the right at the same time with jungle invades, it kind of just shut down anything Ranked All-Stars could do. There's a surrender. No real surprise, they were all dead. And on top of that, the Phoenixes were already exposed.
And that's one of those moments where I'd say, like, as Born, you fall behind, you're looking at who can I get a lead off of?
Yeah.
Who can I kill to make it so that my lanes can start getting pressure, so then I can maybe get some pressure, take some of those buffs back. And there was never an option. It was like, well, do I go for Ymir? He's just going to freeze me and kill me. Do I go for mid? Nox is just going to silence me and then kill me. And then do I go for the duo lane? They're just going to root me, then kill me. There was no option.
I do say that a lot of what Sanguine put together there, their abilities are very telegraphed, their CC chains are telegraphed. A Raven might have been the right pick there instead of the Nemesis. I'm not sure why we don't see too much Raven just lately. Maybe the desk can break down that game better than I can explain why we don't see Raven.
At the end of the day, I mean, why don't we see Raven is just as relevant a question as ever, but why don't we see anything is really what I'm asking. This was one of the more lopsided games. I mean, 18 minutes? That's quick.
Diesel also got off to a really strong start there with the Chernobog, and once they had the momentum on Sanguine's side, it felt like this Nox composition actually panned out incredibly well for them. They were able to have consistent silences into the lock combinations, and just being able to keep members shadow locked for so long, I think is what really put a stop to Ranked All-Stars. The little bit of swings that they would start to have in their favor were just immediately shut down. I think the iFates did a great job also on the Ymir in terms of cutting off viable escape routes.
Yeah, I really liked the Ymir selection overall, and you said something that I really liked during picks and bans was that you didn't say that the composition was poor. You said it was high execution, and that's why you liked the other one a little bit better. But that's the beauty of SMITE. If you do nail that high execution,
it works out great, and that's exactly the case here that we saw for Sanguine. They knew what they were doing with that Sylvanas Chernobog, and I think that was the big thing for me, was just how much pressure came out of Duo. That really opened up things for Fates in comparison to a Ranked All-Stars jungler, where they felt very limited on the Nemesis. You just don't have a whole lot of high clear, high control. I think that Ymir was also just a really nice, direct matchup that they might not have been anticipating.
Again, like, I liked the idea of the Nemesis. If Nox is going to silence you out, playing an ability-based character is probably poor. Hun Bats, you don't play against Nox, right? So Nemesis going in that direction to kind of deal with that made sense on paper, but the execution across the way a little bit too high. Game number 2 on the way. Picks and bans. Sanguine taking on Ranked All-Stars. 2 teams, new names, and looks like the same old song and dance as far as their performance. Sanguine looking really strong.
And Ranked All-Stars still going to default, actually, to the second pick side. This is interesting that they're still willing to forfeit that first pick ability. And I think that Sanguine, I mean, if you're in their position, you might as well just try and run it back for the first couple of bans. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Thoth as their secondary, and sure enough, that's going to be the case. Something tells me that they are like leading towards that Chernobog first pick again. Yeah,
Chernobog, I think, and the ban from Ranked All-Stars is a really nice move, because right now I think that as far as the gods that are very powerful and you want to first pick them category, I think it's huge. I think there's a lot there. Chang'e going first for Sanguine, but Ranked All-Stars, I love second pick right now, Taco. I really, really do. If Chernobog feels like the character that you got to grab first, and if he's banned out, I'd much rather have 2 selections.
Having 2 selections is nice, but Ranked All-Stars did give up the Chang'e. I think that Chang'e has been a very heavily contested pick as of late. She has great sustain throughout the laning phase, has the ability to send the bunny back to base even in buy, so she quite literally never has to leave the lane if she's able to maintain control of her blue buff spawn. And whether this is going to be a Chang'e solo or a jungle, it hasn't been determined just yet. But
or mid.
I do feel as though this might be leaning a little bit more towards solo Chang'e.
Yeah, it's just what we've seen a little bit more of. The Chang'e solo has definitely been very, very powerful. Being able to go the hybrid sort of battle mage build has been successful for most players. Chang'e, Medusa, and Sylvanas. This is a mid-game mess right here for Sanguine. You don't want to fight them between 12 and 20, that's for sure. Hell, though, interesting. Going to be paired up with the Athena and the Red Tasker. This is a full-blown... I think we're a little past it. but we were in a full-blown healer meta, and we didn't really see Hell too much. Why didn't we see it? Why do we see her here?
Because the other healers that are also popular, I'm looking mostly towards Ra, Chang'e, and Aphrodite. I think that they just tend to be a little bit more favorable because of their survivability in comparison to Hell. Hell feels very squishy in the early game, and don't get me wrong, Chang'e and Aphrodite both have their own limitations, but I think in terms of lane clear, it's definitely safer. You don't have to get as close to the wave in order... Well, for Chang'e you do, but you have your immunity on that second ability that can keep you alive and well. In comparison to Hell, you're really relying on timing your cleanse perfectly, and sometimes that's still not enough.
Yeah, no, both the Aphrodite and the Chang'e have the option to immune something real quick. Aphro on the ult and Chang'e with the dance, so certainly something to think about. But the Hell here with Artie, Ratatasker, and Athena will provide a ton of sustain, and you pair that up with an Achilles, it's certainly a little bit scary. Sanguine across the way. Do have the Chang'e to heal up, get away from the Achilles threat nation. And of course, Hades as well. Going to be able to heal his teammates theoretically. We haven't seen much of Hades. We've seen a little bit, and he's been rather successful. I'm a Hades fan.
I'm worried for ranked all-stars because their composition actually has a lot of burst damage within it if they make it past the mid-game. But the question is, surviving that early to mid-game against what Sanguine has drafted, because that is a very aggressive lineup coming out of Sanguine. And the Robin, I think, is going to be a very determining factor for how the pacing of this match goes, because if that is a jungle Robin, then I expect this Artemis to be camped 24/7.
Yeah, I think we're going to see the jungle Robin. The goal here for Sanguine is to have the Robin maintain the early game and then bring the mid-game to everybody else and just kind of destroy you. Ranked All-Stars, certainly rooting for a longer game. If we get there, they could be very powerful. We'll see if we win it in 2 or 3. Casters, take us away.
Thanks, Life Dan Taco. Yeah, I do think this will probably be 2 here, Gormizer, but I will say that they're having a bit more fun this game, and I think that could extend this a little bit longer. With how the difference in skill level felt that game, I still see Sanguine winning this one.
That's actually one of the things I was talking to Finch about, that specifically in the difference between the 2 games. This is the one, I would say, in SMITE, where if you are very ahead of the other team, you can probably play whatever you want and you can win. There's a certain point, there's like a threshold you have to pass for that to work out before it becomes just, well, this game's not going to work for you. The other composition could beat you. But in this case, I feel like Ranked All-Stars have like a level 1 to 3 and then a level 20. They have to have something happen in those moments.
In between, yeah.
Otherwise, Sanguine has full control.
Well, let's find out how this one begins then. And the main thing is how well Oswald and iFates do in that solo lane. The Achilles can make a good impact, but I'm not sure about picking Achilles into so many healers. Obviously, you've got Sylvanas, Chang'e, and Mineral, and even Face has some self-sustain too. It's a little bit risky with the Achilles because you've got to bait your ultimate a couple of times and maybe not getting that execute threshold, but he's going for a cheeky steal here, Gormizer.
Patiently waiting. Kind of curious to see how he wants to approach this. He's going to walk in, Face. I'm kind of surprised to see... that's exactly what I wanted to see. He just stops, waits for a little bit, still doesn't get it.
He did his timing very well there, Oswald, to be honest, because what he ended up doing more than anything else was waiting, knowing the cooldown of Face's abilities. That Piranha Onslaught didn't do enough damage, and he didn't have the cooldown up again, so he just allowed him to do most of the work for him. Big Beck in the dual lane, under pressure again, gets poked out, took his dash at level 1, and has been punished consistently, as you'd expect from a Medusa Sylvanas. We saw it in game 1. Pressure from Sylvanas is always solid.
And at this point, I mean, that's going to get Diesel online, I want to say, a little bit faster, which is going to make his mid-game essentially come to him a little bit sooner, as long as he can get that farm. And depending on how Civil approaches his kind of control, his CC, and whether he's pulling people in, rooting them, whatever, the setup for Diesel is going to make the difference, I think, because you have passive crits and a taunt, and that's the best thing you have in Ranked All-Stars.
Left-hand side contest over those left-hand Harpies. It looks like Mineral got most of those. He's now level 3 to join Amuel in the mid lane on that Hell. Let's see how this one works out with that Hell. At the moment, it looks like it could be Book of Thoth or Soul Reaver. Soul Reaver's the one we've seen a little bit more of. Surprised to see it on a Hell, however. We'll see how that plays out as this game continues. Back to the solo lane, Oswald being bullied out as you'd expect. Chang'e is basically a warrior in disguise. She plays like a mage, but she's very aggressive and she needs to stay up in the wave.
And she applies something that I think Sanguine have done very well in terms of being able to compose themselves like this is actually Born does go, gets a steal, trying to fight, and actually might be able to take Mineral down.
Well, Phrazon might go down here. Just one more basic will do it, and the Dynamite ends the life of Phrazon for first blood for Sanguine. Sybil picking that up. Neon on the right-hand side, Born did whittle down Mineral's health bar, but not enough to find the kill now. And Mineral still risking it for the biscuit by hanging around in the mid lane. At level 4, he'll be okay now with the abilities up. Quick heal and trip back to base.
And that's going to be able to keep him alive. iFates is probably the biggest target right now, and you can see Born's coming around behind him just to try and set that up to make sure that potentially there's a kill right there. Get some of the pressure off of Oswald.
Well, he's only level 3, and he may not have the immunity that he was after there, but he's done a good job of weathering the storm, thanks to the minion wave coming through there, and continues the aggression and sustaining back up. Still has Meditate, remember, here too, iFates, so he's just baiting as long as he can. In the end, Born gives up the goose, goes back to base to buy a couple of items and regen.
Chang'e with blue buff, with Meditate. I don't think you can actually kill iFates until you have like guaranteed control, like some sort of stun, some CC that just locks him out.
They kind of do with Renato. Once Born hits level 5, they've got 2 CCs on him alongside, but Big Beck under pressure. Nice lacerate out from Diesel. Those wisps might be enough for the kill. Has he got any potions left? I don't think he does. 7 a tick. Is it enough? No. Big Beck will survive with a barest scrap of health.
Now just being able to survive. This is where later on Hell's going to come into it, but they do have a lot of anti-heal, I want to say, on the side of Sanguine coming down. Specifically, iFates, I think, is going to make a big difference in that, but you do have Face as well, and that's going to help shut down what I think Amuel could potentially provide overall throughout this game. As of right now, he's had kind of a quiet game, just kind of coasting along in the mid lane, which is probably what you want from your Hell early on.
For sure. Just farm up, get to about level 9 where you're almost unkillable. Anti-heal's definitely going to become a factor, though. Granted, there is Chang'e with that anti-heal for Sanguine, but some more is definitely required here. The more they can stack onto the Hell, and not just the Hell, the other targets in this game, the less she's going to be able to do. Face in the mid lane, though, level 4, same for Born at the moment. Once he's level 5, we'll see if any aggression comes out. Fates on this right-hand side clearly used the Waxing Moon recently and kept whittling down Oswald, who has teleport available, so he's not going to be doom and gloom for him here. Now that he's seeing the Fate's backs, he's probably going to hold an extra second or 2 for those minions. Nope, changes his mind. Quick base, back to lane we go.
This is that moment where iFates is in that perfect position of, do you back, do you stay? You have blue buffs, so you really don't have to go back. Your bunny is going to be able to do all your shopping for you, and that's why I think Chang'e can bully the lane so well. She never has to have a downtime. She never has to give you the lane to yourself, and as of right now, Oswald, unless he starts getting a kill or at least pressures iFates out long enough, I don't see him being able to really sweep back control.
Well, Fates has been using that bunny expertly so far, not had to trip back to base because he's using the meditation on cooldown pretty much as often as possible, and that meditate's about to come up, so he feels safe enough to stay in this lane and keep resustaining with his blue and with his sustain in his kit to stay here for as long as possible. Definitely interested by this Book of Tough by Amuel in the mid lane on the Hell. It's not an item we see too often these days, just because, you know, it takes a little bit while to stack. There's other options that give you more power. Cooldown reduction is something that Hell really enjoys too. Surprised we don't see the Mage's Blessing, or even, as well, not the Chronos Pendant, which are one of the 2 go-tos you see on these Hells more often.
And for me, this kind of showcases that ranked All-Stars, actually, Oswald may be in some danger. There's the Waxing Moon, a lot of burst, and that's going to be the jump from Face.
However, in the sky, the turnaround is here for Born, but it's immune by Fates. The follow-up damage, not so much. Born makes it a 2-for-1. Both junglers rotate, and both solo laners fall.
Now looking for Amuel, just being knocked down, has the heal. Can he chase it down? He goes for the dash, and he's going to be able to make that retreat, but now Athena's actually going to be coming in. One taunt could kill Mineral.
Yeah, the taunt is there for Mineral. Beads burn, and now Amuel will get the kill. Sprint used as well to try and run away from Sybil, who's giving chase here. No one available on the right-hand side. That pull from Sybil, if that would have connected, it may have managed to get him a kill, as Amuel was completely out of mana there. 2 for 2. 6 minutes in. This is a lot better from the ranked All-Stars here, Gormizer.
And definitely what they need to do to stop Sanguine from having the control. Just being able to keep it even in terms of the fights, being able to show, like, no matter what, we're going to be able to go blow for blow. We might even be able to take out the fights a little bit better than you until you can shut down this Hell, and we just coast into our late game. And I think that's where that Book of Thoth comes into it, where it's just like, we're not looking for this early aggression. We don't need the early cooldown. Let's get some mana online. Let's just have that inherent ability to use my heal more to try and stay alive as long as possible.
It just feels like Sanguine, I think Sanguine could have gone for the throat this game and done this again in 15 minutes with very aggressive, similar composition to game 1. But instead they've decided to be a little bit more laid back, have a bit more fun with this, I guess, especially with a Hades in the mid lane. It's not something you see at all these days. But Mineral under pressure again by Born, and that's great burst damage. Book of Toth comes into play there for that power spike that we saw, and it was enough to bring him down yet again. So now Hell's up 2 kills in the mid lane, and you're definitely thinking about anti-heal now.
Diesel in this awkward position, I want to say. You can't really get out of that taunt, going to get knocked down, and now there's a Ratatoskr coming crashing as well.
Oh, but the petrified timing was beautiful. It immune the boar, but not only the boar caught Born on landing from that ultimate across the sky. 2-3 then. Pressure is all ranked all-stars. They're the ones with the rotations. They're the ones trying to make plays happen. It's good to see.
And again, they had that early game that they needed to work with. They steal a buff early on. They get a little bit of a lead, and that's exactly what they needed. Just a pick here, a pick there, something to get you to stop Sanguine from moving forward, really, like a
mainly
wall.
That's Raven. I mean, the Raven in the jungle in the early game, once he hits level 5, he really starts swinging. You saw once he did hit 5, he ganked the solo lane. Big backing pressure again. Needs that dash to get away, but the dot's just too much to handle. Sybil credited with the kill there yet again. As Face now boxing Oswald, but Amuel and Born on support. And with the sustain, the turnaround chase is on.
This is really going to be dependent. Face has his ult available. A lot have their ult available. And once again, Mineral just locked out. They do get Phrasen, so I guess overall you're still going to stay even in kills, but you lose some of your buffs.
Dual lane winning, mid lane losing is kind of how it looks like for Sanguine at the moment, so they've got something to look forward to as the game goes on. They're actually going to get this tier 1 tower on the left-hand side. That boon of gold, I mean, it's only 500 gold, but it's 100 each, you know, it helps out even the lanes that were a little bit further behind.
1,500 experience for ranked all-stars, and normally that would probably be kind of a low amount, but this early on, it's just making that, okay, you have a 1-level lead, you have a 1-level lead. It's just enough to push you into that advantage that every single time Sanguine are looking for a fight, ranked all-stars don't have to worry as much about how it's going. Their abilities are just going to do a little bit more overall.
Good work from Oswald in this solo lane so far, keeping this Fate's pin back. After the first couple of levels, you saw how whittled down he was, but he's done good work so far. Fate's just trying to hang around as long as possible again. Has the meditate. Mineral, meanwhile, in the mid lane, 2 levels down.
Yeah.
Amuel. It's an awkward place for a Hades to be in. We'll see how he continues into the game as it continues.
It's one of those moments that, if it goes on late enough, I expect him being 0-3-0 right now is not going to matter.
No.
But the fact that he's 0-3-0 right now makes a big difference in terms of the way Sanguine has to play, just because now you can't get aggressive in the mid lane. You just know Mineral's going to die. He's an easy target to pick up, easy to control down, whereas Amuel is so hard to lock
Well,
off.
Symbol's already dead. Before you can get in range, the Athena ult comes through. The meditation was used there, I believe. Or a shell, I should say. It was actually Mineral's heal. So Amuel will get Sybil. Born should go down in trade here. Where is Face? Face is miles away right now. Meanwhile, Diesel on the other side of the map is getting more free kills. Face though answers back finally, taking down Big Beck, and Amuel just trying to juke out. Born's coming in with no health. Face up, down, and fixes that Face. Gets himself a triple kill. That was disgusting. Well timed.
I don't know what to say other than Born don't come back for that fight.
That was amazing. I mean, he was trying to make the play. He didn't think Face had noticed it, but Face called it at the right time.
That was perfect timing. I'm like immediately hitting that ult, like recognizing it, the sound cues that come through. If Face doesn't have his ult there, that's an easy kill. You pick it up. I understand where ranked all-stars were. You get Diesel and Face, though, feeling comfortable. I mean, 4-0-0 right now, a triple kill off of that. And then Diesel's just been controlling that duo lane. You don't even have to worry about Mineral / line. Everyone else can do well now.
Completely agree, and I think the funny thing is that Face was kept down at the start of this game, and all that work that ranked all-stars did with Oswald stealing away the speed at the start and pressuring him has been denied thanks to that triple kill in the mid lane. Fates, though, is in complete hell on this right-hand side, and I'm not talking about Amuel, who's getting his red buff. He gets a waxing moon off, but it's not going to be enough to keep him alive. So Fates falls on the right as Mineral just continues farming up the mid lane.
I mean, at this point, I feel like you're looking towards Face being able to couple with Fates maybe to make that solo lane. I mean, so far the pressure's still been in favor of Fates, but make it start going his way a little bit earlier. Mineral potentially to make the play and save the Pyromancer.
Much better from ranked all-stars though, stealing away that Pyromancer 2 now, answering that the Gold Fury. Not as much. Mineral's going to go in with the ultimate, but he's not tanky enough to take on a whole team at this stage, that's for sure. No one else around him at all as Face comes in, but gets hit by Tusky. Mineral jumped in. I think that was a little bit of a risky call there, my friend. Even riskier is Sybil finding out how much damn damage a hell can do at level 13.
Mineral's ults have been like perfect for like 6 minutes from now. They are going to be amazing when his team is rotated. Otherwise, you keep leaving teammates like Face in scenarios like that where you die, Sybil ends up dying because he was trying to help you out, but he didn't know how to commit. And then Face is just left alone.
Yeah, and the clumping up of ranked All-Stars now is really paying dividends for them because they're looking at Fates again on the right-hand side. They just take down the Tier 1 tower. They've completely left Frazion alone. He's so far behind that the picks need to be elsewhere, and getting Fates here is another good one. Amuel gets his 7th of the game. Tier 1 falls on the right-hand side. And now at this stage, ranked All-Stars have climbed into a lead.
So far, they've been able to take 2 towers versus the 1 that Sanguine has been able to pick up. So Diesel is doing, I want to say, the appropriate thing in this scenario. He's not rotating because he's just like, I need to farm. I need to get just such a lead that when this Artemis comes online, I'm doing more, which is going to be incredibly difficult to do once crit starts being built for Frazion. So he needs to get that faster. He needs to farm. He needs to get a tower, maybe 2, to make himself feel comfortable. Otherwise, his team's kind of dead in the water.
Interesting to see where Diesel goes with his build now. He's got the option for the Crusher, which we see a few times on some of the ability-based hunters. But it could be the Beat Stick, because trying to get some ability, trying to get some anti-heal on a hunter isn't always the easiest thing in the world. There's not that many options to help with that. Beat Stick's the obvious choice, because it does have some nice stats. So we'll find out what he ends up going for with this. You can also see Sybil working towards some magical defense. I'm expecting that could be a Pestilence too. Meanwhile though, Born on this left-hand side. Diesel with a very good Petrify to time that out. And now Sybil's on the rotation, but there's 3 members here. He gets taunted, and the damage from Frazion will just slow him down momentarily. Aggression from Born is what the order of the day has been so far, and it's worked out well.
And the big difference you can see is how fast Born gets over here versus Face, who's just kind of meandering through the jungle in comparison. He has no speed compared to what Born has been able to pick up, and using that ult, just getting aggressive. Ratatoskr is pretty much everywhere he needs to be at the right time.
Face can help the duo lane to invade that purple and just keep the pressure on this left-hand side, where the victory is so far in this game for Sanguine. Diesel definitely further ahead, 2 levels up on Frazion. But then you look at the mid lane, and Minerals 3 levels down on Amuel. Fate has gone mid to try and handle the hell, and it's not worked out well because Born just dashed in and took half his health away with one little combo thanks to the support of Amuel. Awkward situation now. I like the role change from Sanguine though. When things aren't going well, maybe switch it up.
And it's just going to be able to give Mineral. They're not looking at ranked All-Stars at this point, aren't really looking at solo lane anymore. They already got the tower. Maybe they're looking for a kill. Maybe they're looking for a blue buff. That's really going to be their target. And
oh, no, oh, no, oh,
he just attracts danger.
I mean, there's Hades for you. That's one of the reasons you don't see Hades in the mid lane too often is because if he does get behind or plays too aggressively, it's not going to work out. Completely different to that Nox game. And the sustain is going to become a real issue here. Amuel's build, plenty of penetration in it, plenty of power so far. He's going to keep healing up his whole team every single fight.
And he's 8-1-2 right now. He has just been running rampant.
Could be into a game 3.
With the way things are going, ranked All-Stars, like at this point, I feel like they need to make a mistake for things to go their way. Amuel at level 16 with his healing is going to be incredible.
About to say, I think they may have made one. They're going for that red buff because Amuel took a lot of damage with only 2 of them there against 3. I don't think Sanguine realized how good they had it. Oswald, though, going to come aggressive on Fates, and Fate's going to have to back away. Still only level 11, 4 levels down at the moment is Sanguine's technical solo laner, even though he's now in the mid lane at the moment. Ranked All-Stars trying to clump up some more here, and I'd like to see him just go in the advantage with this lead they've got here. Goran, maybe just go for gold, pressure out some towers.
As of right now, actually, a taunt on the Sybil looks like it's going to be able to start a lot. Mineral Fate's going in for the backline, trying to get rid of Amuel as fast as they can to stop that healing, but it's just not on the mark just yet.
Oh, Born, though, taking down Diesel for a second, keeping him busy. Shell popped earlier on. Face under pressure to use the overhead kick, being run down by 3. Now in the sky is Born. There's a 4-man knockup available there, won't be found. The ult from Mineral helped out and actually got him a kill, but Oswald answers that back. Sybil gets 2. Oh my god, Sylvanas is just lately here doing so much damage.
There was one moment throughout all of that I think broke Ranked All-Stars winning that fight. There was a taunt, and there was a Ratatosker dive, and they were not in the same spot. It ended up actually pulling a few members away from where Born was diving, opens it up for Sanguine. Now they get this Gold Fury, and while they had a lot of control, they get rid of the Hell early on to make sure that the healing's offline. That gave Sanguine just that little bit of an advantage I think they needed to push them into the lead, even though they're still behind in experience.
Yeah, an experience, but this time will definitely help them out even more so in gold, an extra 500 gold in the coffers. Just looking at Phrazon's build on that Artemis too, I'm really not sold on an Assy as your next item after Devourer's Gauntlets and Boots. You've already got Sustain from Devourer's Gauntlets anyway, which are fully stacked. I don't know why you're going to more Sustain. You want some more penetration. I mean, Assy gives you a little bit, but not enough. Or even some crit could have been an option too. We'll see how this works out for him as this game continues. He's the only one in that last fight to survive. I think it was more to do with position than anything. Good taunt from Big Back, but a better ult from Sybil.
Now they're just going to be able to burn through him off of the great stun from iFate's. Born looks like he's going to be able to walk out of that. Oswald and Phrazon, I want to say more running away than really retreating in that one, as Ranked All-Stars just, I don't think they expected that damage dump.
I think the difference is now is that Sanguine's starting to group up too now, finally.
Yes.
And the combination of the silences out from Mineral is shutting down any sort of potential for abilities or escape. Oswald has to use his ult defensively to get away from Mineral. Meanwhile, Sanguine are going to do the Fire Giant. Born wasn't looking Fire Giant way, he was looking to support Oswald. Fire Giant's getting lower. Phrazon hasn't recognized it. He's trying to get a kill on Fates. Fates is still alive. Oswald's going to come in to clean that one up. Fire Giant's still getting low. Is it a steal attempt? Phrazon goes down. Sanguine get the Fire Giant, but there's only 3 members left alive. Mineral will survive. Faze could clean up a kill on Oswald. He will, but now he's a little bit too deep. He may fall in response. Now only 2 members with a Fire Giant.
Diesel going to be able to dash in, uses the last of his mana, but he's going to be able to pick up a kill for it. Phrazon, he's kind of stuck in this bad area. Mineral going to be able to dash in. He has full mana, and this is the point. Again, Mineral's been hitting great ults all game. The big difference was, do you have a team or do you not?
Yeah.
This time he had a team. Every single one of his ults has been on point since then.
17-17 gold lead swing, about 4,500 in favor of Sanguine. Experience now even. Finally, Ranked All-Stars got themselves in a very good spot in this game from, well, around minute 5 onwards, but then the fights have kind of started to fold to now. The anti-healers definitely made a difference that we can see, and the clumping from Sanguine has shown that they are the superior team fighters.
Now, I was kind of curious as to the relic choice that Sanguine was going to go for, specifically going for iFates or Sybil. If they wanted to go for the Cursed Donk, but they have a Brawler's Beat Stick, they have a Pestilence, they have a Divine Ruin, they actually have 2 Brawler's Beat Sticks, and then Chang'e just has the inherent anti-heal in her kit. They're like, okay, we have enough. We don't need to invest another relic. Instead, keep yourself alive a little bit more. They actually go for the Bracer.
And that Bracer Undoing that you see on iFates here, I'm not a big fan of right now. I think it's a very good item in the right situation, but you're playing a healer first of all.
Yeah.
Second of all, you've already got Meditate.
Yeah.
Third of all, there's 3 other healers on your team.
Yeah.
They're going to be building anti-heal, which means the Bracer and the Meditation are not going to do as much in the team fights if you are near a Pestilence, which is something Oswald has, for example. I don't think it's needed. It's probably better to get an Aegis or a Beads there, and he may need them because he's getting engaged on Born.
It feels kind of reactionary for how the game's been going, where he's just like, I need more healing. I need something that's going to stop them from trying to fight me and keep me alive. But again, I think Beads in this point, because once you have your ability to get out of that CC, hit your 2, you're completely immune. You don't have to worry about anything. You just walk away. Either way, it doesn't seem like it really matters for Sanguine right now, as they're just going ahead and pushing down the right lane.
Yeah, even with only 1 or 2 members with that Fire Giant buff around their waist, and Mineral and Diesel. Diesel's the main one they're after, so he can take down these Phoenixes. Left-hand side, Mineral goes aggressive on Amuel, and that's going to force him back under towards his Titan. But in comes Born with a good knock-up, isolating Mineral. Mineral gets some support from Sybil. Amuel, though, comes back in and cleans up Deep Mineral before he can get away. In goes Oswald looking for a stun, gets it on the carries, and the burst from Amuel will get him a triple kill. This could be a quadra. Run, Face, run as fast as your legs can take you. If you don't kill the Hell, she'll turn around and put you in Hell.
It is uncomfortable. That push, you go in, and you can kind of tell that there was hesitation, I want to say, from Sanguine. They don't want to fight it because they know that it's not a good fight. You're going onto the Phoenix. You haven't really been winning all game, and they still have Hell available, and I think that is the big difference.
Oh, yeah.
Ignoring the fact that he just got a quadra kill, he has a bunch of healing that is going to be able to rotate any kind of team fight back in favor of Ranked All-Stars.
Now they're going to get tier 2 times their own here, Ranked All-Stars. Look towards a Phoenix. Face is the only one alive for a few more seconds. Fate's the first one up, but no ultimate available for anyone. This could be a Phoenix in the mid lane. Will Ranked All-Stars fall back immediately? I would suggest so, and that's exactly what they're going to try and do. Run, boys, run, because that triple kill into a quadra on the right has swung the game again.
And I love that call. That is the kind of call. I feel like most teams in that scenario, they're riding that high stuff.
Oh, cheeky bait in the jungle, but a great waxing moon from Fate slows that down. Now, ranked All-Stars have hung around too long, and the group up from Sanguine could cause them some problems.
And this is going to be where the issue could arise. Did they overstay their welcome, or did they get out just in time? There's always that thin line.
I think going for the Gold Fury is a little bit risky here. They were just on the defensive after a last team fight or two. The defense worked out. Left-hand tier 2 tower's about to fall to minions there, which is definitely going to help out Sanguine. And with them getting a Phoenix, ranked All-Stars have to surrender the Gold Fury here. They don't really have the relics. They had the ultimates, but they just didn't feel confident. So this is going to be a game of counter-initiation from ranked All-Stars, clearly.
I think that's going to help overall Mineral and Fates. Once you get that gold, they get a couple more items online. There's the Obsidian Shard. But the big one for me is we've seen Amuel do phenomenal things already. He's 12-3. And now we have Frazen with the Poison Star. He's going into another Shuriken, so he's going to get more crit online. He's going to start hitting a lot harder. And this is where I think Artemis becomes the deadliest. She's going to have a stun, and she is going to just erase Mineral. She's going to erase Diesel. She's going to erase iFates unless they can find the kill first or some sort of control. And they all have their own individual, I'm going to stop you from attacking me, but not enough that I think we can really rely on it. Frazen is going to be a big threat as well.
We definitely need ranked All-Stars to win one more good fight to really get hold of this game. They're down about 5,000 gold at the moment. Experience still does matter, but they're actually in a good position in the grand scheme of that with how it's looking now. Not as much as they'd like, but I think this Fire Giant is a really good telling point. I'd actually like to see maybe Born or even Big Beck rotate to the left-hand side for a little while and split push, try and put some pressure on Sanguine to defend, because they don't have any teleports.
As of where Born's standing right now, it kind of feels like he's deliberately staying away from the fight so he can ult in. It's one of those, like, that moment of, I want that surprise, I don't want them to hear me until it's too late, and if they group up, that's going to be the perfect moment for you.
And if that's the case, then pressure in the mid lane. They've got 5 minions pouring down there. Make sure no one can just keep farming and clearing them as they defend this Fire Giant. The dance of the Fire Giant has begun, and it's going to be, well, it can be a long one or a short one. It's all about whether Sybil can find a pull or if someone pulls the trigger on the engagement.
So far, ranked All-Stars, I would say, have the better holding of all of the fights. As long as it goes a little bit longer, yes, you're going to have some healing from iFates, you're going to have some healing from Sybil, but it's going to be a small kind of burst from iFates and then a big but over time heal from Sybil versus Amuel just being able to hit the gas pedal and be like, everyone's full again, let's get right back into this. And you get some movement speed, and you're moving into the fight a little bit better. It's harder to lock them down. Ranked All-Stars, it's really, again, careful positioning, or else they can lose the fight just off losing their mid lane.
Completely agree. I think the big call here is how well Amuel gets protected in these engagements. Amuel's job is to stay alive as long as possible, and then look to turn and burst when Sanguine have used their commitment. Ranked All-Stars as a team need to protect that hell and make sure he weathers the storm to turn it, and then, to be fair, if they find another deicide like they just did, they can end the game down mid lane. With the amount of sustain they've got, the Titan's not going to be healthy enough to hold on to them. Born and Fates in the mid lane though. Fate's going to try and clear out these fire minions. Pressure for Sanguine though, as ranked All-Stars just give everything up. They've got war coverage around here. And now they're going to investigate and find the Fire Giant. He's at half health.
Diesel right now I think is going to be the big factor for potentially killing this off. Sybil going to be able to go for the knockup, but Oswald's in the fight and he's going for the Hunter.
Yeah, they're after Diesel. Diesel dashes away. Born in the sky looking where to drop down onto. 3-man clumping. Beautiful knockup. Waxing Moon off the mark as well from Fates. Meanwhile, ranked All-Stars reset as Sanguine fall back. Middle Phoenix respawns. A lot of ultimates expended there from both sides.
3 for 3 overall, but when you look at it, Hell doesn't really have a big ult that you have to worry about. The
3-man sword, the burst is there. Sybil's getting low, face to the back, looking at Amuel. Big Bet goes down after the taunt as the follow-up damage from Sanguine was good. Ranked All-Stars just didn't have the abilities up to support the engagement from Big Beck.
And now you can see the healing is going to be taking effect here for Sanguine as they do get a little bit more aggressive. Sybil still at half health, so that could make a big difference. But it's a 4v5, and you have a Guardian on your side as well as a lot of healing.
Well,
ranked All-Stars have to actually play this very carefully.
Looking at the comps, you look at the healing numbers, they're actually even technically when you look at it. 6,000 for Sybil at the same time as 10,000 for Fates. Combine that and it equals what Amuel has done. Born in the mid lane, getting aggressed on by Face. He's got no ultimate to escape this time around. Has to use the Aegis in the jungle. Meanwhile, Oswald and Amuel dealing with Sybil and Fates. This is a anyone's game at this point with how this is looking at 26 minutes in.
Diesel, again, is the one I want to keep my eye on for Sanguine. Just because when it comes to the Fire Giant, when it comes to pushing down towers, when it comes to a lot of this fight, his abilities throughout all of this keep control for it. Whether or not he's going to just in-hand burn the Fire Giant for them, or if it's going to be that aggression. He's got a very good tower killer build. He's very good at killing tanks, but he's not going to do so much in that 1v1 against, like, say, Frazen. So he has to kind of focus his priority onto the objectives.
And we'll see how this works out, because I do feel Diesel's the only player on this Sanguine team that's not been picked apart this game. He's just consistently been in the correct position at the right time. Just that one death so far. Full build online. Just needs to get rid of that Hunter's Blessing. We'll see where he ends up going in terms of the last item in his build. Could go for a little bit of cheeky crit, which isn't always seen too much. We'll find out what happens. He is the one being given the red buff now. Doesn't really surprise me with how Mineral's game has gone so far, and the fact he's gone for a bit more of a defensive build.
And now with the way things are going, Sanguine has at least a little bit of pressure alleviated. The middle Phoenix is back up. No more fire minions in the mid lane, which I think makes the Fire Giant dance even more careful for them, because now they don't have to worry about their minions getting pushed up. Actually, they're the ones pushing it up. But you can see Born on the left. He's just like, okay, you can aggress over there. We actually have Annual, so the healing's going to be good.
Oh, all in on Big Becky. Went in just trying to get out that Magi's Cloak off of Mineral. And when he did, the whole three-man group of Sanguine went, okay, we'll kill you. And they do that. That's going to open up the Pyromancer. Mineral's starting up the Fire Giant already. Meanwhile, left-hand side, Born is split pushing. Frazon's doing the Gold Fury. Ranked All-Stars don't feel confident in taking fights against Sanguine at all, do they?
I mean, now they're going to pull away, and they're going to get a lot out of this. They actually might even be able to get that tier 2, depending on how this fight with Face goes. But I don't know if it's going to be worthwhile. Look at the way that Sanguine's playing this. They're immediately going to put pressure on this right-hand lane. They send 3 members.
I would have actually liked to see Face maybe go aggressive in the jungle to try and stop the backs a little bit more there. He had all his abilities available and his beads and blink. Could have definitely bought a few seconds for his team to look at that Phoenix with a few delayed backs. But instead, Sanguine take the safer option. They win a big objective there, and the Fire Giant definitely worth more than the Gold Fury at this stage. And now it's time to siege again. Let's just not make the mistakes we did of the last time we sieged the Phoenixes.
Going back, trying to finish off their last items for Sanguine. And I like the patience from that, because, again, something that we saw earlier and something that I think is always the bane of the minor league teams. Overstaying. Being able to say, okay, wait, we're winning this fight. We're winning this fight. And it's a good domino effect until it just stops. You hit a wall.
It's not just in the minor league, though. It's actually in just casual play and rank play. Everyone thinks they can stay with 5 health and make the big play, and then they die, and you're like, I guess I should have based. But they don't remember. They keep doing that. I do it all the time. I know I do. I'm like, I've got 5 health as a support. I'm like, you know what? If I can just stay for my Geb Shield one more time, I can turn this around. And then I get hit by something stupid like a minion, and it's over.
Diesel right now has Titan's Bane, Crusher, Brawler's Beatsticks, Chin Size, and a Fire Giant.
Full pad.
I think he could actually 3-shot a tower.
Pretty sure he probably could at this age. With a minion wave too, granted he needs that minion wave for the extra boost, but the amount of penetration there will help him out a little bit more. So Titan's Bane though, not as good as tower shredding as it once was. Yeah. With how things have changed there, because it doesn't really work there. But some of the other items will, like the Beatstick, like the Crusher that he's picked up. So it's a left-hand side focus from Sanguine. So we're going to look for a cheeky pull if he can, and if he finds a good target, it could spell demise. Big Beck will be the engage, though, for the Ranked All-Stars. He'll be looking for those taunts, burn off some of those Magi's Cloaks where possible, which Face and Mineral have around their waist. Mid lane, Fates is currently keeping Born busy.
And just being able to distract a little bit. Either way, he's going to be able to push, get a little pressure onto the Phoenix, or cause a distraction factor. Either way, rotating in still has everything in his kit available, and between a pull and a good stun, that can make the difference.
And Athena's in a lot of trouble. The Petrify hits Frazon too. Frazon didn't even beat Aegis that. His beats were way too late. 21-21, left-hand Phoenix will fall. And there's only 3 members here now for Ranked All-Stars to defend. They're in a good spot though. They're at their Titan. They get the support of the Titan.
And I like the call, go for the throat. Oswald getting burned down like it's nothing. And now the Titan's going to be the one under the attack. Whether or not Born and Amuel can actually hold this, I just don't see it happening.
I don't think it's going to be the case either. Amuel trying to do what he can, but he gets dunked on in base. An interesting game from Ranked All-Stars. They definitely had the leads at moments, but never capitalized on them. And Sanguine just allowed to get back into this one, Gormiser, and take the 2-0. Game 1, a stomp. Game 2, a lot closer.
And you could feel where the reliance on Oswald, especially towards the tail end, you lose Big Tech and you're just like, okay, we still have at least one front line. His health bar was gone. And again, that's all Diesel, all his pressure, the way he built. It's not only good for towers, but it's also going to be good for those tanky gods. So being able to take him down makes it a lot easier to just open up the pressure. What's Amiel going to be able to do?
It's very true indeed. I mean, the Hal did good work in the game for a nice part of it, but it wasn't enough to find the win for his team. I think a few people have been sleeping on Hal. We've seen it a few times on streams and things, but that looked dominant.
The way things have been going, Hades now, I guess, technically winning. I don't know if that performance was enough to sell me on him being available more readily, but I like the way that, again, towards the late game when the ults were hitting, there was a period of time that Mineral, and I think his ults made the biggest difference for their fights. It just didn't happen consistently after that point.
Well, the desk is ready to break down this game. It's a lot better than game one. They've got something to talk about this one. Let's get into that.
Hey, thanks a lot, Graham. Tom and Taco breaking this one down for you. A little bit quick. Well, game one was quick. Game two, 30 minutes. But either way, we got there. The game should have ended at 20, it felt like. I really saw the ending there, Taco.
That right-hand Phoenix Siege where Amiel ends up finding the quadra kill off of it. It all comes off the back, honestly, of just a failed engagement. You see Fates try to go in initially, and then immediately after, they're just completely collapsed upon. And you would think that the Waxing Moon is going to connect and throw everything out of sync, but it was the complete opposite. Instead, it's ranked All-Stars with a beautiful counter-initiation.
Yeah, I mean, here is... Everybody always thinks of Hel as a healer, which you should. She's a healer. But this is the other side. She is a stance switcher. She gets 2 kills just by hitting the one ability, and then the secondary cleanup here. 4 kills in total for the Hel just in that exchange. You gotta be wary of the healer's damage.
That triple stun, though, from the Achilles, that's what sets up everything to begin with. Had it not been for the initial placement, Amiel would not have been able to find that triple kill initially, which funneled into the quadra eventually. But overall, it looked as though Ranked All-Stars were just on the cusp of breaking back into this game, but ultimately they were not able to fully recover the match or the set.
Yeah, there was a lot of moments. You heard Gormizer talking about it, about how Hades was able to sort of make a lot of these almost plays. He would almost do it and just almost get there. Almost doesn't count, but he still get the W across the way. Sanguine on top there. Ranked All-Star is just a little bit not All-Star enough.
It's promising, though. It leads me to believe that this team is certainly still ramping up a lot of their experience. Fall split, something to keep in mind also for a lot of these North American minor league teams. I think there's been a very distinct gap between the upper spectrum in the North American minor league. Same could be said over there in Europe. We saw Insignum go completely undefeated 10-0 there in their standings, and so they'll be headed to LAN. But speaking of LAN and speaking of standings, this very next matchup in the minor league, probably one of the more important sets that we're going to see this split entirely for North America, as it's going to be very nice to me taking on Armada Esports, and essentially Armada trying to volley for a chance at LAN.
Yeah, that's really the key here. You can see that 9 wins, 7 wins for the second place team. Armada, if they go ahead and take this one, we could totally see a different player at LAN. Certainly a lot of fun to see that one. Listen, Europe, Insignum, we get it. We're going to see you over and over again. But the minor league is definitely where the teams get a chance to really learn. When I see these teams competing for LAN, it's just less about. I mean, there's prestige. Don't get me wrong, but this is much less about bringing home the hammer and waving it around, and more saying, "All right, look, we've gotten this far." I think if you do make it to LAN from the minor league, you're more just setting your future up than anything else. You certainly haven't made it. There's a lot of steps to be made to get into the pro league, and then so minor league is all about improving yourself as a player, improving yourself as a teammate, improving yourself as a person. Don't forget about that part. And also, just getting damn good at SMITE. So certainly something we want to see these teams do. Very nice to me. I mean, the squad has been very nice to the league, up there on top. Wowie. I mean, is this a pro league team in the minor league, or is this truly an SML team?
I feel as though this is a little bit of both. I'm not fully convinced that they're actually capable of competing in the SPL and being able to yield better results than that. Even of the members or of those 5th and 6th place SPL teams, I still feel as though Very Nice to Me could probably have a very strong likelihood of maybe going even with like the 5th and 6th place SPL teams. As far as 4th and above, that's too much to tell, too early to call it. I think that Moswell, Wowie, Payne, I mean, those guys have been already around the block when it comes to pro league play. Those guys have already experienced what it's like to compete at that level. And of course, with the removal of the SPL during season 5, going from 8 teams to 6, that's what limit things. But a lot of people refer to the minor league, at least for the first place team, as their own SPL waiting league for or waiting room for their region. And I think in Europe, it's very evident that that's Insignum's placeholder, and in North America right now, Very Nice to Me has the crown. But that's what Amrata is here for. They're trying to take the title away.
These individuals are fantastic, but how do they line up when they're put together on the battlefield of the gods? Team versus team, Armada versus Very Nice to Me for LAN contention. Game number 1 on the way. Picks and bans first and foremost. VNTM coming out with the first pick and, of course, the first ban. Armada get a chance to respond. Just to recap, if you guys haven't been following, it's been all about healers, baby. Chang'e. Guan Yu has kind of slipped off. Where'd Guan go?
Guan Yu disappeared when Chang'e resurfaced. Because the laning phase, I think, as far as the solo lane matchup is concerned, you're typically going to want the Chang'e into the Guan Yu. Talo Assault can be strong later on because of that shred, but you still have to have the concerns to make it through the laning phase initially. And I think with Chang'e on the table, or if she is going against him, and there's a couple of matchups I think also that are very unfavorable against the Guan Yu. You're mostly leaning towards him, I think, if you already have a solidified healer in place.
For sure.
Because he's a great additional piece for some of those, you know, double, triple healer compositions.
I've always felt that he's more of a supplemental character than just a Guan and gone. So Guan is gone. I like that one. Came up. That's me right now.
Proud of you.
Thanks, buddy. Chang'e Cerberus banned out by Very Nice to Me. We see the Guan. He showed up. Thank you. We're talking about him, and AR going to go ahead and ban him out. No Guan, no Chernobog, which leaves the first selection for Very Nice to Me, the Athena, the Global Guardian.
Payne's staple, Athena at that. I'm so used to calling that one. But no, in all seriousness though, Payne legit came into pro play initially off the back of Athena gameplay. I mean, everybody knew him. That was his signature go-to god. He's also got a pretty sick RDO. We've seen plenty of that, and Armada with a very bold double choice here.
Yeah, I love your terminology, bold, here, because a lot of what I sort of talk about here at Picks and Bans is ambiguity and kind of hiding your pick. I'm picking Hel and Odin. This is clearly saying we're going healers, and we're going to take the healer counter from you, so deal with it. I like that.
Not only that, but Very Nice to Me is still not swayed. Shibalanke going to be their hunter of choice, really valuing that Darkest Knight's ultimate if they're still willing to pick up the Shabal, knowing full well that he's going to have limited escape potential away from that Odin cage.
Serket can certainly get out of the cage, but more importantly, deal damage to healers. Cutting off the heal, certainly a very big deal of what you're looking for. That last breath is going to really cut down Hel, and the burst damage alone could cut down Hel as well. Geb, excellent choice here. You can go healers, you pick a healer, you pick the counter, and then you pick the protector.
Well, see, you say excellent choice, but I think my concern right now, Geb is really strong against the Serket. Geb can also be strong against an Athena, granted, so long as the Geb isn't the one actually being pulled from the taunt. So the concern that I have is Geb is also very punishable in the early game. And right now, probably the only beneficial aspect of this is the fact that Shibalanke, not necessarily the greatest kill potential levels. I mean, I would say throughout the entirety of that laning phase, it can be really difficult to try and find a solo kill there just because he has limited chase possibilities, and it's hard. If you use the Rising Jaguar to close space, you always have to worry about the counter gank happening, and then you're already out of position. You have no escape left to your name, and
here, flashy pick here. We're gonna get. Ooh,
it's not over.
I'm very excited. Mid lane Aphrodite is a character that I think is severely underrepresented in high level Smite play. Aphrodite comes through. Her damage is insane. When you confirm the bird damage with a stun that she has, you're just as strong as any other man. I'm very excited. I really want to see this Aphrodite fly. Picking it into an Odin is a little bit different. A Wheelish on the other side. How do you like this?
Oh man, I mean, if we have to go off of if we're picking based on our favorite guides, Armada has already sold me as soon as they locked in that Awelish. I like what I can see happening here for Armada. I actually really enjoyed their team composition. I think they have some great team fighting capabilities. Very nice to me though. Probably a little bit more favored in terms of the control.
Sure.
I think that their team composition, as long as they execute it appropriately, can definitely allow for them to continue aggressing over and over and over again towards Armada, whereas Armada is going to probably have to play a little bit more safe, a little bit more reserved, wait for the Hell heal to actually come forward because she can apply it only to one member, but I don't think it's as much sustain or survivability as that of the Aphrodite because Aphrodite has that undying
the ultimate,
love.
yeah. I love the early draft. You were talking about how AR have all these answers late, but their early game will be missing. Medusa and Awelish picked that up completely. Great drafts from both of these teams. Very interested. Land on the line. Game 1, let's go.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Taco. It's going to be Finch and Tully bringing you the action as we move into Armada up against Very Nice to Me, the two top teams here in North America. And I'm liking these drafts for both of them. You heard them talk a little bit about it. I really like that Geb over there for Armada.
There's a lot of synergy. There's also the ability to synergize with the Awelish ultimate from the knock-up. The ability to keep the Hell alive is very important. With the shield, having some extra lockdown potential. And more importantly, I like the fact that Armada picked the Odin with the Hell at the same time, making sure that there wasn't going to be that hard counter, but still Very Nice to Me had the Circuit available.
And that's what that's why I like second pick so much, right? It's not just you get the counter pick towards the end, but if you're picking something that can be relatively countered, you can pick it and its counter sort of at the same time. So there's so much in picks and bans that's important. First pick, you get the selection you want. You can force them to ban the important stuff and take what's left. But second pick has some really cool stuff too.
I like this matchup in the mid lane, Moswell versus Sheikah. These are your two mid players out of the North American SMITE minor league that are at the top of their game at the moment, and they're both playing healers. Aphrodite versus the Hell. Normally, you would give it to the Hell in the early game simply because she has the damaging and the healing abilities and just will out-damage the Aphrodite in the early game, but it's going to be dependent on how early some of these junglers make their impact in the mid lane. Normally, we talk about how the junglers can impact side lanes, but I think in this particular game, it's important for the mid.
Exactly. Whichever one of these mid-mages kind of is allowed to be more comfortable, allowed to get ahead early or just get to where they want to go on the easiest path possible is almost certainly going to come out on top because in terms of their healing, as you talked about, they're going to be relatively even. Sheikah a little bit more AoE, but has some single target healing as well, whereas Moswell is going to be getting that one-person burst and right back up.
Nice to me. Got the archers down in the dual lane first. Pain Devion doing a great job dropping the shield wall at the archers, using his passive reach to force the melee to go right to where the Athena's positioned, hitting all 6 minions with even a level 1 shield wall is allowing Very Nice to Me to just outclear Armada, get this next wave, and deny some precious golden experience under this tower.
Yeah, it's going to force them back towards the red buff for Armada and even clear up some time for Very Nice to Me to come grab purple. Armada have cleared the red relatively quickly, though, so they should be able to come over here and defend purple buff, but already level 2 is coming out. Pain Devion ticked over first. Wow, he doesn't have it, but an opportunity to go aggressive.
Trying to make something happen, forcing out the shell. Wowie needed to get that purple buff confirmed before he would hit level 2 to even get either the Rising Jaguar or those poison darts to apply some more damage. But Armada missed a whole entire wave just for a red buff. Not worth it in the experience department. Sops doesn't have his dash.
He's getting chunked right now by the damage between Pain Devion and Wowie. They're not going to be able to find the last auto, but Sabbath might extend Ebola. Not going to find it. Wowie just gets a little bit of extra damage, but that's how important it was. They Very Nice to Me pushed up that wave in the first place, right? Armada couldn't stick around and contest purple because they lost one wave and they're going to miss a whole nother one. There was just no way.
It's very true. Very Nice to Me are dominating this dual lane, and that's going to allow Wowie to really get the edge over Sops to the race of the late game. Shibalanke versus Medusa, both of them trying to rush those Devo gloves. But meanwhile in the solo lane, Tier hasn't really seen too much play. Bra getting baited to use that shield, and you can't really jump against Tier. It's going to be waiting for you right with the Fearless once you land.
Absolutely, and Bra, I think recognizing that, stays back a little bit. Going to go ahead and take the back to the base. Now, if he does back, okay, that's what I was about to say. If he does back here, he doesn't have teleport. He went with the blink early on so he can get these cages. So did Cope in the jungle. This really does seem to me that Armada are trying to go aggressive, and I got to imagine the aggression is going to be on the Moz.
There's only a level 5 power play for Bra with that blink. Once the Tier hits level 7 or so, you're not going to be able to kill him. The Lawbringer over the Odin cage, and then you're going to have so many abilities to drop your defensive power cleave to sustain back up, and that level 4 defensive power cleave is good enough to top you off, even if you only hit one target. You don't even necessarily have to hit 3 minions to get a beneficial heal.
No, and I'm
Bra's
right there
dead.
with you as Bra's in trouble. Fearless puts him against the wall. You're exactly right. Solar Troll finds first blood. Bra sticks around too long, gets punished. Cope's going to come over to try and defend this wave, but Solar Troll already looking scared.
This is why you don't jump in the wave when Tyr is right there. You're going to need to kind of time that a little bit better. Just use your shield and stand by the minions and wait for the opposition before you jump.
Well, there's that other blink. This one coming out of Cope, but a great job defending it. So in that situation, Moswell's going to be able to make it out of there A-OK, but Cope not done yet. Now wants to try and come punish the dual lane of Very Nice to Me, who are going for the invade. Everyone right around the corner, but Sanford Soccer is here as well. Cope jumps in, taunt. Feather Step doesn't get him far enough away. Wowie finds a kill.
Not sure why he just jumped into 3 people there, really wanting to get that AoE Feather Step onto 3, but the rest of his teammates a little bit too far away to make anything happen. Sabbath wasn't even close enough to really apply the shell.
And I sort of get the idea because the Wheelish can make some hot plays with the Feather Step and, you know, kind of avoid some damage, but it's just not happening against Athena. There's just no way, right? And it's 3 people, so the taunt pulls him right back in. They're able to pretty easily finish that one also.
Look at this heal that's about to happen. Just
Absurd.
like that. There's no real reason that Bra should have went this blink, honestly. He's going to get constantly bullied, but he
It's
could
curious,
potentially bait out to allow Cope to look for the cleanup kill.
No, and I'm right there with you, Tully. It's definitely not going to help him in lane, right? So he's got to be thinking about rotating more often early on, but it's harder to do that because he's lost all the pressure because he has a blink.
This
I
is a situation where Armada's draft kind of played itself. I understand why they picked Odin so that Sheikah wouldn't get hard countered by the Odin potentially, as Pain the Beyond has been known to play it every now and then. But the problem is this matchup is getting hard countered. There's just too many options to shut down Odin in the solo lane. You would much rather honestly put it in the jungle or even in the support role to get some lane pressure, but in the 1v1 there's too many solo lane warriors that can shut down Odin, such as we're seeing even with a tier.
Well, level 7 now for Solar Troll, highest in the game. Looking quite comfortable on the tier. And he's the one that actually did not get Blink. It's a little curious. You'd have thought these might have been switched around as tiers get Blink early on, but that teleport we saw him use earlier really has kind of made the difference. He was able to go back, hit his power curve, come in, punish Bra early, and he's had the pressure ever since.
Now that I think about it a little longer, the Blink from Bra is more inclined towards ganking Mosswall in the mid lane as opposed to doing anything against Solar Troll. So as long as he does make these rotations after clearing the wave, Bra can impact that mid lane and start shutting down the Aphrodite, allowing Sheikah to get some momentum under himself, because even in the mid lane, Sheikah is 1 level behind currently.
And the only problem with it, Tully, is that it's harder for him to rotate now, though, right? Because he took it. It's weird. It's like this catch-22 where he wants to gank more, so he has it, but because he has it, he can't gank more. And now Bra's in a little bit of trouble because Solar Troll is not letting up on the gas by any means, pushing in some pressure on this tier 1 tower.
And this is how Bra's supposed to clear the wave. He just needs to avoid the Fearless, but just in time to pop the shield. Bra gonna absorb some damage, doesn't have the same sustain that Solar Troll does. And as the tier backs, teleport's available in 1 second.
That's a good job interrupting it because Solar Troll did a good job timing this back to right when the teleport would come back up, and Bra not going to let it happen. So that is going to force him back a little bit. But you talked about our mid lane mages looking in at Sheikah and Moswell. Sheikah's going with the beads, even with the cleanse, but Moswell hasn't felt that same pressure. He's more concerned with the sprint, the extra movement speed, since he's got undying love to get him out of trouble.
That's very true, and that's the one advantage that Aphrodite has over the Hell, including Chang'e over the Hell, is that Hell doesn't have that invulnerability. She does have the cleanse of her second ability, but at the end of the day, you have to time that so perfectly. It's a very short duration, so 1 CC can bait out the cleanse, and then you have a secondary one potentially from your jungler to follow up as Mosswall hits level 9, now 2 levels ahead of Sheikah.
And the cleanse feels really good against like big wind-up CCs, right? Like no escape from Ares or something like that. But in this situation, we're paying like Blink taunts you or Sanford Soccer Cobra's kisses. Sheikah's not going to have that same option to sort of cleanse himself out of it. He's definitely going to need those beads. And you heard them talking about on the desk, right? Why don't we see as much the Hell? This is almost exactly why. Because, like you said, the Chang'e and the Aphrodite just have more tools.
Well, to be fair, very nice to me is Mosswall loves the Hell. If he has an option between all 3 or all 4 healing mages, he'll obviously go for the Hell. That's just his bread and butter.
if you're able to get it going, a Solar Troll winning the 2v1 so far up against Bra and Cope. And he can't really fight up against him. He already has that Glad Shield online, sustaining up even more, and clearly ready to rock here in the solo lane.
Getting 10% cooldown reduction for 1,700 gold is, I think, why he wanting to rush this item. Also going from 15 protections up to 20 a little bit is another important factor with the recent changes that we did to this item, or sorry, rather physical power. 15 to 20, so looking to make himself more of a bully. When you have the early game lead, get a bridge item to extend it even further.
Big rotation to dual lane. Sabbath gets on in, but Petrify hits everyone. Pain already finds Sabbath early on. Cope Baby comes in, but it's a little bit too late. He's getting controlled as well. Sheikah ends up getting stunned by the Darkest of Night, so he's not quite in position. Now he comes in and takes down Sam for Soccer. Sops finds Moswell. It's turned to a bloodbath as Cope gets the knock-up on Pain Devion. Wowie been left all alone in the bad neighborhood, and Cope gonna come in and try and help him clean it up. They don't even need him. Sheikah helps in, they find 4.
This is hell in team fights at its finest. Great rotation from Oswald, but Sheikah staggered his, making it even more impactful. And with this rotation, getting a 4-for-1, now gonna look for the Gold Fury, already less than 2,000 health. And Solar Troll in the soul lane is like, come on, guys. Winning my lane over here, and you guys are just kind of giving up a Gold Fury. Feels bad for the tier.
And to be fair, I mean, Armada have 4 kills total and just got all 4 kills just now. You can see it on these charts, too, as they all spike right down to even things back up in favor of Armada. But you're exactly right. Hell in that close kind of team fight area where they were all in one big, like, 8-member ball. That's exactly where Sheikah wants to be, where the Repulse is hitting everybody and the Inspire is hitting everybody, able to do the big mage damage and heal up the squad.
That's another good thing that you can do with the Blink is really easily avoid that Lawbringer. Sabbath going to use the shield on himself, going to use the Cataclysm to prevent any sort of follow-up damage, but Sheikah couldn't really get there in time to help his support player.
Now, that is one thing to remember. Sabbath was the sacrificial lamb on that left side fight that went so well for Armada. That was kind of the only problem. Well, Sabbath gets caught out yet again as they go aggressive into the jungle of Armada. Do very nice to me and find that Geb on that side. Not too difficult for them to take him down early.
And back in these team fights, there was 2 things that really happened that was successful for Armada Esports. Number 1, it was Sops Petrified that worked beautifully. And then the second one was the overcommitment towards chasing down Cope Baby. He jumps away from the action, goes back to the dual lane as Sanford Soccer jumps in, gets instantly pulled by the ultimate, and that was just clean pickings once Sheikah made the rotation. Just too much AoE damage, AoE heals. Everyone was very low from Armada Esports, but without some serious anti-healing options quite yet, that team fight is going to favor the hell every single time.
Came out in a really good spot to Sheikah. Now level 11 has the Book of Thoth online, getting some stacks on that too to go along with the pin boots. But on the other side, Moswell has full cooldown. That's going to help them out as they look for aggression. But Solar Troll is going to be the target. They do get the knockup that they're looking for. Lawbringer sends him forward. Has Defender of Olympus ticking, so now Pain's here. They're able to taunt Cope back in, put him up against the wall with the Fearless, and Solar Troll finds the kill.
No beads, no life available for Cope Baby during that Fearless combination. Too much damage. Base damage this level 11 tier does between that Fearless Power Cleave combination against a squishy assassin without any sort of realistic health or protections to speak about. That's going to be a kill every single time.
Sops trying to strip away this red buff as the rest of Very Nice to Me goes aggressive into the enemy jungle, but they're not going to find anything there. They retreat. Same story for Sops. He can't find the red buff and he retreats, and everyone able to grab their own farm in the end. But remember, it was Cope that just took the spill from Solar Troll.
Sops recognizing there's some action coming his way. He's going to need to quietly retreat under his tier 1 tower. Sops still kind of flirting with a little bit of danger. They did walk over the ward by the purple buff as he walks by, sees that it's completed. Nothing he can really do about that as a lonely Medusa. Doing a good job holding his own, though, in the duo lane.
Gonna try and collapse on this red buff. Pain Devion has caught the attention of Cope here in the mid lane corridor. Sheikah's with him, but in the backside, trouble for Sam for Soccer as he goes in onto Sops, who takes him down. Pain Devion does end up falling as Bra has made the rotation over to the fight, way ahead of Solar Troll. Red buff looks like that will be defended. It ends up being 2 members of Very Nice to Me who fall.
The rotation just perfectly from Bra, making this impact with the blink through the mid side, left side, Harpy wall. Not able to really escape is the Athena as she opted to go for the sprint as opposed to this early Phantom. And that's the one advantage that you have as an Odin player in the solo lane. It's like the enemy is going to not consider getting an early Phantom since they're not expecting you to rotate early game anyway.
Hasn't happened just yet, so once he's able to go over there and drop those cages, as we saw Bra rotate over sooner, he's able to have that big impact. That's just one of the few times where Solar Troll wasn't over to the fight at the exact same time, even though it was very nice to me who kind of started it, right? They were the ones going aggressive into the enemy jungle, trying to strip away that red buff, and yet Bra was the one that was there in response with Armada a little bit sooner.
Bra's doing a good job catching back up. He's now a level over Solar Troll with that rotation. And surprised to see actually SOT now go for this Height of Urchin, expecting that his teammates would be successful in some of these team fights. Wants to start building some of those Height of Urchin stacks. But Bra going for a more traditional, easy peasy build with the Breastplate of Valor. Very, not situational, but just more safe and standard, being able to get the cooldown reduction and survive a lot of these ganks coming from the third cat.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't look like Bra wants to be like fighting in the lane nearly as much as maybe Solar Troll was. This is just like, I can go do my wave, I don't worry about your damage that much, plenty of cooldown, so I can get everything off. So that still kind of feels like what Bra's saying there, but it's not just Bra that's sort of caught up, right? It's really all of Armada. They're in a great spot. I mean, Sheikah now 2-0-3 on this Hell, is stacking that Book of Thoth freely. No real concerns in the world. There's Aegis and Beads now. I mean, at this point, it's going to be hard to kill this Hell unless they catch her really far out of position.
You're right. Sheikah's sitting very pretty. Just now hitting level 13 is Mosswall. It was a level 9 Mosswall's Aphrodite versus a level 7 Sheikah's Hell. Solar Troll trying to get some damage off on Cope, not going to really find the range. And the Phantom was instantly picked up by Mosswall, fearing some of these Odin rotations out of Bra.
I think that, and I think he's right. He very likely was going to be the target as Bra now buys Cursed Ankh. I feel like everything Bra's doing is to shut down this Aphrodite, and he's signaling it that quite clearly. He hasn't really itemized into any kind of magical defense at this point, but Aphrodite is the only really magic damage to worry about, and she's not even really doing that much damage. She's built sort of utility with this cooldown build into Divine Ruin, so Bra should be very fine here with that Urchin sort of all protection he gets there to move into the fight.
A little more hybrid selection instead of the magical defense specialized Pestilence. I'm sure Bra is considering some magical defense immediately after the Height of Urchin. The thing is, if you're expecting team fights at this point in the game, then you might as well go for Height of Urchin and hope that your team comes on the better end of it so that you can win the race of the stacking wars. A couple patches ago, changing the item to go from less stacks but increase protections per stack. So you only need 7 stacks to fully complete this item, and you're getting 3 protections per stack. So you're actually getting 1 extra protection than its former item a couple patches ago.
Yeah, once you get that finished off, you'll be in a pretty good spot. In fact, you don't even have to all the way finish it for it to at least be feeling good. As Cope goes in, Mosswall's the target very early on. Undying Love gives him a moment to breathe. Phantom, it looks like, had to be used to get through the cage. Even the Cursed Ankh is used, but Mosswall still breathes, but we cannot say the same for Sanford Soccer. Sabbath and Sheikah work together to take him down underneath the tower.
Very nice. And we are always forced to retreat, whereas Armada are just resetting and using this AoE heal from Hell. Aphrodite can only heal herself and 1 other teammate, whereas Hell can heal all 5 if given the range to do so.
Gold Fury has been pulled. Armada healing up nicely with Sheikah. A great pull in on the Pain to Beyond. Petrify comes in too, and Bra removes the support from the map. Sheikah in a little bit of trouble, has the Aegis ticking. Solar Troll goes up with the Lawbringer, but still can't find him. Sheikah still standing, and Solar Troll has been controlled.
Trying to make something happen onto Sheikah. Unfruitful. Now Bra in the backline creating crazy diversion. Sheikah able to heal his teammates. Looking for the power cleave. He will find it with a backup from Mosswall.
Mosswall helps out a great deal there as Sops ends up getting removed. Wowie, though, is all alone in the cage. This is not where you want to rage. Wowie trying to Rising Jaguar, but there's really not anywhere to go. Sabbath comes in, has the shockwave for the knock-up and even an in-hand to get the kill. Sanford Soccer takes down Cope. It's been a blood bag back and forth as now the jungler has a double.
Still coming back to the team fight. Pain Divion was the original focus. Defender of Olympus back in.
Wow.
Sheikah could not survive. He missed his light stance 1 through the wall that he was targeting, I believe, onto Bra. If he hits that ability and gets off his AoE and heal, maybe they actually turn this fight around, but what a long team fight between healers.
And it was just a lot of interesting things that happened there in that team fight, totally. But the back off from Mosswall when they were going aggressive into the back line to find the kill, that was huge. Sanford Soccer got a double on the back end. Pain being able to come right back into the fray. But, I mean, you saw what this Hell can do very early on, right, for Sheikah. It just wasn't enough. Very nice to me. We're able to get all the way through there at the end.
And I think that one small marginal mistake that Armada can look back on is the fact that Bra using his cursed Ankh when they were trying to dive the tier 1 tower instead of using it in a more optimal setting under that Gold Fury fight would have been definitely more useful to win some of these engagements.
That's a great point. They committed so much at the very beginning of that fight to get Moswall, and it does end up, I believe, netting them pain to beyond, or they get one kill very early on afterwards, but it's not Moswall who's able to regroup, come back in and help out with the fight. If maybe that commitment's a little softer and they have some of those tools to help out, that fight might go their way because Armada was very close to winning that fight cleanly.
Very true. Pain Deviant absorbed a lot of abilities there, and as a result, very nice to me, got a lot of AoE damage and forced Armada in a really sticky situation. That teamfight lasting a lot longer than most others do. As Solar Troll in the middle of all 5 members gets the clean, fearless power cleave onto Cope Baby, still wanting to commit, even with the defender of Olympus up and down, trying to get some damage onto Sabbath.
Solar Troll still continuing to go in, but it's Cope who's in trouble. Sanford Soccer goes to the back of the team fight and removes him quite nicely. Solar Troll not done yet. He's been aggressive all fight long, and he's looking for a little bit more. They force Armada underneath the tier 2 tower, and looking at the rest of the team's going to come back towards the tier 2 and let Solar Troll zone.
He's just baiting, but he doesn't have a Lawbringer, so if he gets trapped and isolated, this could be a clean pick, even with a level 17 tier.
Yeah, they're just going to do the Fire Giant while he keeps 4 members busy. Everyone that's not Cope, who's dead, is fighting Solar Troll. They recognize finally Bruh on his way. Sabbath able to push past as well. Wowie going to give up on the Fire Giant. They just want the fight. Sabbath does get controlled. Last breath comes out on him. They're not able to block the rollout, though, so he's able to make it back under the tower.
Wow, Sabbath survives. There goes the Phantom, or sorry, they're just going to be able to wait it out rather, as Bra is going to contain them and peel away from the Fire Giant. Not losing anyone, not giving up the Fire Giant. Armada Esports are still in a great position.
That could have been way worse for them. Very nice to me. Give up the Fire Giants, look for the fight. Armada cleanly disengage. In fact, they're not done yet. Taunted is Bruh, as Solar Troll looked like the target for a moment. They're not done yet. Cope's going to blink in. Wowie has to use the Aegis just to stay alive. Sanford Soccer still has the Mad Guy's Cloak going, but he has no way to get out.
He has no mana, but Cope taking so much damage. Look at the backline. Solar Troll looking for the Lawbringer onto Cope.
It's already back. He used it at the start of the fight, and here it is yet again. Cope just barely escaping, getting some heals out, coming from the hell as well. Somehow, they got to find a way to kill someone in this fight, but everyone's so healed up that the fight's able to go on for minutes at a time.
It's just lasting so long.
10K.
Look at this healing. Just 10,000 out of Sheikah, 6,500 out of Moswell. And Sheikah's numbers are only going to get higher as some of these items get completed. I think the late game should favor Armada, especially considering that Cope is still really far behind in the level department. He needs his Mad Guy's Cloak completed.
But these fights have been favoring very nice to me in that way, right? It's been hard for Armada to farm during all of this, so they are behind experience-wise in the mid and jungle. Even solo lane so far, this has favored very nice to me. Look at these charts ticking up just a little bit. They're going to come grab these mid Harpies on the left-hand side, but Armada constantly having to make these defenses. It's kind of hurting their farm.
It's hurting their farm when they fight in these little jungle skirmishes, but I think the defenses around the towers isn't going to be too difficult for Armada. I think that Bra has a lot of space control with the cage, will force out a Phantom or two, considering that now Pain Deviant has it as well. And then Sabbath can easily lock down several members with this Blink Cataclysm idea.
Very nice to me. It's pulled back for now. Gold Fury will be back up in about 45 seconds totally. And they seem to have given up on the Fire Giant, or at least given up their positioning around it. These fights have clearly been long on both sides, so you're not going to be able to immediately win a prolonged engagement just by nature of making it a long fight, as both teams are easily able to sign up for that one. They're going to need their target selected to be a little bit stronger, but Sheikah and Moswell both have proven to be quite slippery in these fights. It's so difficult to lock them down.
I like the fact that Sanford Soccer and Moswell were waiting around the purple buff just to see if anyone was going to try to gank Wowie as he was getting that tier 1 tower in the dueling that was very close to death, sitting on his last legs basically. Solar Troll taking almost next to no damage out of Sheikah. This tanky tier is going to be a huge problem and a thorn in Armada's backs.
The Gold Fury's up now, and very nice to me control this Gold Fury pit. But Bra and Sabbath are pushing right on in. They're not going to give up this spacing for free, trying to push past those choke points so they have a way to fight back in. Sheikah's pretty far back, so is Cope, but that's okay. Very nice to me. Aren't pulling this just yet. Even though they're positioning around it, no one's really ready to start pulling it at this moment.
Sanford Soccer actually losing a little bit in the experience department. Cope Baby was level 14 versus Sanford Soccer 16. Getting those 2 levels and Magnus Glow completed is essentially almost caught up completely with Sanford Soccer. And I think that these team fights should be a little bit better because Cope only had the tier 2 version in the last engagement. Now having that little cleanse bubble under himself could allow him to force some engagements.
See how well they can stack up as Gold Fury was pulled for the moment. It has been pulled yet again, down to about half HP. Solar Troll trying to keep Bro away from the fight, but look at Cope positioned perfectly on the back end. Has that blink available, and it's going to be the first one in is Sabbath. He drops the Cataclysm. Already, though, the Gold Fury has broken the cage, but it doesn't matter. Sabbath's been removed either way. Sanford Soccer found that kill. He's stuck on the back end of the fight as Cope looks for more blood, but it's too much healing. The entirety of Very Nice to Me can retreat.
They're trying to go back in off of Solar Trolls. Tankiness, level 20 tier, is leading the charge. That gets the blink in. Sops is going to absorb a lot of damage. Taunt onto the Medusa. Very late beads. Not going to even receive some of the healing until it's too late.
He is going to make it all the way back towards the tower. So is Bruh. So far, only Sabbath has fallen. But Wowie still pulling that Gold Fury. Very Nice to Me with these patient engagements, catching someone from Armada out of position, like Sabbath, who was the one that engaged, have been able to turn these fights around. Gold Fury goes over to Very Nice to Me. The gold lead continues to grow in their favor, right around that 7,000 mark or so.
So even if we're seeing Sops and Wowie's player damage be that close together, when I was looking at Sops' positioning in that team fight, he was hitting next to nobody at the tail end of that fight, and I think that's where the problem really lied in for Armada. Everyone's attention was onto the Geb, and Sops was just not hitting the prime target that he really needed to. The rest of Very Nice to Me were able to re-engage very cleanly, and Wowie putting in quite the damage.
And as strong as Blink Cataclysm is, maybe Armada just don't have enough range to follow it, because even if someone does blink in and get a good Cataclysm, you're not in range to follow up with auto attacks from Cope, or maybe Bruh's not ready to jump in right that exact moment, or Sheikah has great damage with the Repulse but has to get a lot closer too. I mean, maybe they aren't. Is this composition in a good enough position in these fights to follow up off that?
They're not ready for team fights quite yet, simply because Sabbath is still working on his Gauntlet of Thieves stacks. He only had about 33 stacks during that fight, and that's why Very Nice to Me actually forced the Gold Fury. If anything, Armada were destined to lose that fight from the very beginning unless Sabbath was the secondary engager. Bait brought to go in first, considering he has a more selfish build, and then have the Geb follow up, have the Geb shield go onto Bra instead of himself. Sitting at level 14 Geb, you don't have that much base health as a level 18 Odin.
Well, he's getting punished early on in these fights so far. Bruh forced to jump away. Sheikah right there to provide that cleanse had there been trouble. Fire Giant was pulled for a moment, but it's been dropped. Solar Troll teleporting to the tier 2 and Duo to try and stop Sops from pushing in. So it's going to be a 4v4. Cataclysm comes out early. Pain to Beyond controlled. Knockup comes out for Sanford Soccer, but Undying Love lets him escape. Bruh jumps in alone against 3 members. He does have the cage, but he is going to have to fall back. It's too much return damage as the Phantom comes out.
Oh, the knockup beautifully onto Moswell. Featherstep doing a good job. Sabbath knocks up one. Sanford Soccer trying to run away. Sops making his rotation felt. Cope actually goes in, as does Bra, to catch out Wowie.
What a great play. They were able to find the kill as Solar Troll rejoins the fade. Petrify does hit one. Solar Troll going to try and 1v5, but gets knocked up and has to fall back. Finally, Wowie ends up getting taken down, and Armada that time kind of came in waves. Like Bra went in first, then Cope came in, and even though there was sustain from Moswell, it wasn't enough, and Armada are pulling Fire Giant again.
But they're not going to fully commit to it. They can look for this 5-on-4 team fight without Wowie. Very Nice to Me don't have the Hunter damage, and recognizing this, Armada actually just zoning away with Bra right there. He doesn't have his ultimate quite yet, and this Fire Giant's very low.
Sanford Soccer's going to the back line. He wants Sops. Beads came out very early on, and Sops is low inside the cage. He is going to dash away with that Geb shield. Now Sheikah's the target. Solar Troll has been left to just auto him in the back, but the rest of the team had to disengage. Sops just barely still standing, gets knocked up perfectly by Cope, but Pain to Beyond comes in to finish him off.
They're losing a 4-on-5. Sabbath goes down immediately after. This Aphrodite is so good for Very Nice to Me. The back off damage to slow out Sheikah. Deathbane was good. Sanford Soccer just needs one more Cobra's Kiss and he finds it.
That's another kill. 3 for 0 if you just count that last engagement where it was the 5v4. Even without Wowie, Very Nice to Be doing an excellent job in that team fight, totally.
The problem here, Finch, was the fact that Armada didn't take the fight 5-on-4. It was technically technically a 5-on-5 because the Fire Giant was that outside 5th man for Very Nice to Me. They didn't leash it fast enough to go outside the cage, and there was too much damage. Sops was in no man's land on the south end of that fight because Sabbath was too low on the north. Sheikah went to go heal his Geb support while Sops was just too far away from the action. I would have loved to see Armada take the fight 5-on-4 instead of just going for the Gold Fury. You have so much mobility from using Hell's 3. There's no way Very Nice to Me are going to be able to get away from them.
And in that situation, they kind of do end up baiting themselves in just a little bit. I mean, Sops was so low for so long, so was Sheikah, but Solo or Troll, I feel like, was allowed to get a little bit lost in that team fight. When they weren't able to keep him controlled, he was able to sit on Sops. When Sops got away, he sat on Sheikah, then he turned right back around. He was free to kind of do whatever he wanted in that fight, and Armada did not have an answer.
Brock can use all the Odin cages he wants because Solo or Troll is just going to jump right over them and go on the targets that he wants to. It's too difficult for Sops and Sheikah to try to balance the damage and the healing versus surviving also against Solo or Troll and have to be mindful about their positioning.
And it's just tough for this Armada squad to have quite enough control. Cataclysm is great, but it's kind of that one-time deal, right? That way to get the fight started off or to counter-initiate. But once they got in the fray, there really was no help to remove Solo or Troll from the backliners, from the squishy carries on the backside. Cope was getting some nice knockups. Bro has the cage, but as we said, he'll just jump over those cages. It is kind of tough to slow him down.
They need to find the right targets and the right kills, and they did that originally with Wowie, and they should have just played their numbers, and that's going to allow Very Nice to Me now a huge momentum swing as they're the ones with the Fire Giant around their waist for 2.5 minutes, getting themselves their 3rd Gold Fury of the game, extending their lead to over 9,000 gold, about 10,000 once they get this tower.
Yeah, you don't get to 9-0 in the SML by accident as Cope in a little bit of trouble over here in the jungle. Very Nice to Me. Whenever there's a window, an opportunity, they seize it. And this is a team with a ton of experience. Pain Devion, Wowie. I mean, these players have all been in the SPL before. A lot of them have, rather. And we're going to see that experience here right now as Sanford Soccer takes down Bra early on. Petrify comes out, looking for good damage from Sops, but Very Nice to Me are just going to disengage.
Can't really do much. Solo or Troll was zoning out Cope from getting his own speed, but for so long that 4-on-4, even without Solo or Troll, Very Nice to Me still winning that engagement.
And I'm surprised. If I'm Armada, I trade Cope for Solo or Troll. And still the fight goes in favor of Very Nice to Me. That's crazy. Phoenix on the left-hand side goes down as well. They still have a tier 2 in mid and Solo to grab.
I mean, it's also the Fire Giant that just allows the scales to tip into the Order side favor. Sitting with a lot of damage is Moswell with the Soul Reaver, getting the Rod of Asclepius for the mobility. It's hard to really contain this Aphrodite. Yes, the Hell can AoE heal, but can the Hell give you invulnerability for yourself and a teammate? The answer is no, and that's why Moswell was able to keep Sanford Soccer alive on so many moments when he would keep Cope on the ground from the knockup.
Sanford Soccer goes in on Sheikah, and the Moswell damage deletes him immediately. Cataclysm might have hit too, but Cobra's Kiss is bringing him right back in. Wowie letting the autos fly, and Sabbath has been removed. Mid lane, Phoenix has been brought down as well. Solar or Troll with the Lawbringer in place. Sops the next one on the chopping block. Can't even get back to the fountain. Sanford Soccer's going to remove him. It's a 5v2, make it a 5v1. Double for Sanford Soccer. Titan coming down. Very Nice to Me take game 1.
Just one more game away from winning this set. Very Nice to Me looking very clean in the end game. They had a little bit of a shake-up, I would say, in the early mid-game stages when Bra started making his rotations. But that back-off damage at the very end, it was the Soul Reaver proc also, where it's the Circuit goes in, the back-off comes through. Sheikah didn't even have a moment to use that Aegis.
And that's it. But that really was, that was what sealed it for them at the very end. But it kind of felt like that was going to happen anyway. Very Nice to Me. That fight around the Fire Giant is what really gave them that late-game pressure. What really kind of sealed it for them. And it was a 5v4. They had every opportunity, did Armada, but they didn't play it cleanly
They
enough.
should have forced a team fight. They had the mobility from the Hell to chase them down. They baited it deep enough to the point that Very Nice to Me were right on the outskirts of the Fire Giant circle, so they could have just re-engaged them and chased them down, but instead they opted to go on the Fire Giant. It was very low, and the Fire Giant was just hitting the backline for too long. After a couple of basic line attacks of whoever's tanking it, you're going to get all that AoE damage, and Hell can heal all she wants. If Sops is going to be that far south of the team fight, you're not going to get healed from the Hell.
They're just stopped on the island for so long, it felt like, right, and really not able to do much. And Solar Patrol, I mean, give that guy all the credit in the world. He got ahead so early in his lane. I remember that 4-man wipe that happened over in Duo, and Solar Patrol was like, guys, and he like just stays relevant, right? Anyway, make sure he stays ahead. He's such a big force for them in the fights.
And that just favors the tier because the fact that the Odin matchup not very favorable against the tier. The Odin was picked specifically to allow Sheikah on the Hell more freedom and just the ability to survive in some of these early game engagements, because Pain Devion can easily play in the support role, and you don't want Pain Devion playing the Odin because he's going to take that dual lane lead, allow Wowie a lot of momentum, and transition that in the mid lane. And if you're dealing with an Odin support, now you're going to have to think about some early Phantoms, and that's what Very Nice to Me didn't get at the beginning of the game, was because the Odin was in the solo lane. You're not expecting him to really make those rotations. That's why Mosswall picked up the second relic. He was the first one on his team to hit the level 12 marker, so he opts to get for it as an Aphrodite, and then immediately following him was Pain Devion once he gets level 12.
They both had them. They did a great job using those to make sure they would get out of those cages. But we actually have some analysts standing by who watched that game, maybe went a little bit closer than we did, totally, and they could break it down for us.
Great stuff, guys. Great cast for a great game. And great team winds up on top. Wowie and the boys. That was actually the team name at one point, wasn't it? Very Nice to Me go ahead and take the game.
There was just so many different back and forth engagements, though, for both of these squads. When one was on the rise, then you'd see the other take a huge fall, but then almost immediately after, they'd come back. And so it was just incredible watching the talent of both of these squads. You can tell that these guys are pretty evenly matched overall.
Yeah, I mean, usually I'd say the average game length is about 23, 24 minutes. But when we see the better matched up teams go head to head, it's usually about a half hour, and that's pretty much where we wound up. So very nice to check these teams out and go head to head. Armada, though, looked just as good. Definitely could have taken that one.
The early game, especially for me, is what really stuck out. For example, one of the beginning fights actually took a place in that dual lane, specifically where Cope Baby and the crew all ended up rotating over, and it was just a full-on collapse. The entirety of Very Nice to Me pretty much ends up falling there outside of their solo laner, I believe, who wasn't able to participate in the fight since it was so early on. But it was just excellent watching Armada recognize that the early game was probably their best chance to take advantage of their composition in terms of just snowball potential. And I like the concept there for the Awelish to try and get ahead, try and put that Hell ahead. Yeah. But it ultimately didn't end up working out, mostly because I think some of the control from Very Nice to Me towards some of those later engagements just became too overwhelming.
Yeah, you can see the Hell was having some success here. Sheikah just doing a lot of the right things, but unfortunately not able to keep it going. But the Hell can be very, very oppressive at times.
This was just so excellently played out, though, by Armada. I mean, who expects that sort of rotation over to the purple buff? And wow, you can just tell that he's completely bamboozled there, trying to put out whatever damage he can on the Shibalanke. And well, they do end up finding the win in the end. I know I'm making it sound like Armada might have ended up winning game one.
They danced the whole time, up until the end, so good reason for it, but Nice to Me does take the game.
Even on those last few sieges, I think that there were moments where I wasn't completely sold on who was actually going to win the team fight. And that's what I think could be really fun about watching two similarly matched teams go at it, because I really was not convinced at the start of that Very Nice to Me would be able to close it out. And it's clear that at least with Armada, Very Nice to Me has their work cut out for them.
Yeah, I mean, these two teams certainly bringing it to the end. Not sure who's going to be on top till the very last game of the season, bringing it down to the wire. Game number 2 could be the final game of the split. Let's take a look here. Very Nice to Me versus Armada in their second game of the set. And Armada this time will choose for the first choice.
Armada didn't have first choice in the last game. They had the second choice options, and that's exactly what Very Nice to Me wanted to begin with. But now that the tables have turned, I actually really like this Shibalanke ban from the start. Last time around, they banned the Guan Yu and the Chernobog, fearing a little bit more of that global pressure as opposed to the indirect global pressure from Shibalanke.
Sure.
And Darkest Night, I do feel, was a huge changing factor in a lot of those team fights, though.
I absolutely agree. Anytime you're able to just sort of shut off the communication, it's a big deal. Trust me, if production doesn't tell me what to do every step of the way, I just fall down on my face. So communication is key. First round of bans coming out, no Shivalanke, no Hell. And across the way, no Athena and no Chernobog. So Globals being protected by Very Nice to Me. Whereas Cerberus, the first selection overall, that's a little bit of a throwback.
It doesn't strike me as a throwback because of the fact that I think Cerberus is one of those gods where we haven't necessarily been seeing him as a first pick priority choice, but we have been seeing a lot of bans, I think, against Cerberus in the first and second pick, so that could also be a large part of the reason why he's fallen a little bit more out of favor. And also, there's keeping in mind, there's like Chang'e, Chernobog, Athena, all those gods have been
just more
very
stuff to pick.
Yeah, there's so much on the table right now. There's so many different possible like compositions that you could try and run, and I think it's interesting actually watching some of these drafts unfold.
I like the Kumba Karna here. Thoth and Kumba from Very Nice to Me. Going to be paired up with Jing Wei here as we look at the first half. Whereas Sylvanas and Artemis, I thought picking the Kumba Karna is very interesting because it's a choice that kind of sets the table. You're saying, all right, I'm going to have tons of lockdown, some setup for my mid laner, and the attack speed thing is there. Now you get to pick who you choose into my lane, and it's very interesting because you kind of set up those parameters for the lane. And I think Armada responded correctly. If there's a correct response, they said, okay, that's the question you're asking. We'll go full push. Sylvanas Artemis.
What's fun about these two teams, though, is that these drafts are already so different in terms of what they're trying to accomplish, and yet both of them I could see working out equally well for these teams respectively.
It's one of my favorite things about Season 5 Smite, and I've said it before, I'll say it again. There used to be just a correct way to play the game, and the meta game was the race to see who got there first. And then your team gets there first, you're playing the game correctly, and it's just better than everybody else. Nowadays, I think there's a number of different ways to play. You're looking at pressure from AR, and Nice to Me going for their pick comp. I mean, this is nice setup and nice just kill potential.
Jing Wei and Thoth are both going to take some time to ramp up there.
Yeah.
So, of course, I think that Very Nice to Me needs a really solid solo lane choice here, or another really strong, aggressive Guardian. That way, it's not just the Kumba Karna that you're looking for on that solo initiation. This could possibly be a solo Kumba Karna. I wouldn't put it past Very Nice to Me, which is why I throw that one out there. But it will be the Hades locked in for that solo lane. We already saw some impactful Hades gameplay in the first set of today, actually, thanks to Mineral there on the Hades. But this time around, all the action is going to be on Very Nice to Me's Hades gameplay.
Very, very interesting stuff. Armada here looking for the late game, most notably with their dual lane in Discordia. Robin will kind of bring us there, hopefully. Nice to Me, on the other hand, again, late game, mid game, kind of an amalgamation of the two. It's this sort of later than most, but not quite all the way. Nice to Me's got a great draft. There's so many different ways to strip beads here, Taco. I'm leaning towards Nice to Me on this one.
I want to lean towards Very Nice to Me also, but the trick here is that I would not be surprised if Armada managed to bring this to a game 3.
How would they do that?
It's because they have so much burst on their composition. Like, you got the double Guardian, perfect initiation between Cerberus and Sylvanas. It's just pick which one you want to go forward. You can't really go wrong with either choices. And then the Artemis, Robin, Discordia for your follow-up. As long as they don't fall too far behind in their laning phases, this should be pretty solid. Even Thor, as a jungler, he's got that semi-global presence, but it might not be as impactful against the Artemis, because if he lands down on Dunk on top of her, all she does is drop the Tusky into a trap, and then it might even be the Thor who ends up dying.
A lot of interrupt on the side of Armada. Is it enough? Will they get it to land? Let's find out. Game 2, Nice to Me and Armada. Take us away.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Taco. Finch and Tola here one more time. Game 2 between these top-end North American SML squads. Tola, we got to see the drafts there on paper. You leaning any way? What are you liking here?
I like the Hades pick, last pick. I think it's going to go in the solo lane, solo troll against the Cerberus. Taco was mentioning on the desk how teamfight should favor out Armada with a burst damage potential as long as the laning phase doesn't go too far behind. But solo troll is thinking about that laning phase and wants to try to put himself in the best position. He dominated the last game with even a solo kill, and solo troll, though, unfortunately, has to get his dash.
Cope does commit the blink to come in and try and catch him with that first ability, but it's still not enough. Solo troll makes it out, doesn't feel pressured enough. Well, it's teleport round that he has, so couldn't have used that, but Armada really tried. They had the root there for him. I mean, they had
Yeah.
the knock up, the slow from Sops. It still wasn't enough to catch him out.
Well, you don't really want to start off with your dash at level 1 as Hades for
That's
the
fair.
laning clear because you want to be able to heal and get off the most damage with your Devour Souls. But either way, still allows him to survive for a little bit longer, and that's going to be important to not allow anyone momentum from Armada Esports. The whole idea from Very Nice to Me positioning there was to allow Pain to Beyond to go and ward the red buff.
So in the end, really all ends up costing Very Nice to Me is that they have to start with an ability they don't really want. That's pretty nice there from
Double
Pain,
relics.
that they get the beads out from Sops. Pain, though, does get rooted. Sops going to be here to throw out a few more autos, but that's what can make Kubakarna so good early, man. When you drop down that root, I mean, you almost feel like you have to beads it.
Now, I would be worried if Wowie was playing an Artemis before the potential passive crits coming through after the root, but against the Jingwei, I'm not using my beads there, and I'm certainly not using my shell from Sabbaths.
Yeah, they commit a little bit too much. And to be fair, Wowie wasn't really in position to follow up anyway.
Yeah.
So it was a little bit, I think, from Sops of just, I don't know if the word's panic, but just safety.
And look,
no matter what, just use the beads and get out.
Very Nice to Me weren't even wanting to go for the pressure. They
No.
did that as a little bit of a zone tool, get Armada a little bit further away from the mini wave to allow Very Nice to Me to get their own red buff.
Now, if they do want to go pressure, they have the opportunity to do so with a sprint and beads in their pocket and nothing available to the dual lane of Armada Esports. In fact, we do see him moving forward with the root. Going to drop it on the wave as opposed to Sabbath or Sops, though, so no harm, no foul.
Just doing a little bit of damage any way that he can. Knowing that Beads is down onto Sops, this could be a early rotation from Sanford Soccer if he wants to. Once he gets level 3 to get that Thor wall, pinning the Artemis against the wall where she doesn't have any sort of gap closer is going to be very easy to confirm first blood.
Sanford Soccer in a little bit of trouble as Cope goes aggressive. Unruly Magic doesn't quite connect. That might have been enough to put Sanford Soccer in real trouble. Cope, though, going to use this opportunity with Sam Lowe to move into the jungle, has the hammer to teleport back to the tower, and Cope is going to try and go steal those back camps.
Good presence of mind for Sheikah to still be in position to look for the strife, not allowing Sanford Soccer to take that greedy approach. Moswell is here, stuns out Cope AP, but Sanford Soccer is incredibly low.
Strife lands onto Moswell. Cope right here to put in some more auto attacks. Has the slow as well. Sanford Soccer has the hammer. Unruly Magic. Even with the bounce is not enough, so they should be able to get the jungle now. Very Nice to Me almost have to give this up.
The bounces don't do that much damage, so being able to dive the tier 1 tower and overhead kicks away, swagging on them is Cope.
That's first blood for Cope there in the middle lane. With that blink and the overhead kick, that was all that it takes. Able to bring down Moswell with a nice easy kill. Sticking around a little bit too long, trying to get that minion wave there, whereas Sanford Soccer had already backed as soon as they realized there was no way to defend their jungle.
Without the overhead kick, that would still be worth it if he confirms the first blood. Getting that bounty is so important. Even timing it perfectly to avoid the tower shot. Cope next level with the Robin, and it just questions me from time in and time out is why we don't see more Robin in
Very
some
good.
of these games. You're able to make plays like that and avoid a huge burst of damage.
So one of the things that makes Chang'e really good is her second ability, right?
Yeah.
It's like having like beads and Aegis on like
Sure.
a 18-second cooldown, if
Yes.
not lower with cooldown. Doesn't Robin have something very similar to that?
Very similar.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty good. Also, he can dunk in on you as a root, a slow, a lot of tools available to this this warrior in the jungle.
It's not a bad ability whatsoever. 20-second cooldown as opposed to the 18 out of Chang'e, but as he maxes out, it's going all the way down to 12, which is more than likely going to be what Cope is maxing out a second after the Prada onslaught.
Sabbath went for it there with that pull, but a little bit off the mark, so no big play going to happen here in the middle lane as the support has already kind of moved away from his hunter, at least for Armada. Meanwhile, Pain to Beyond still right there with Wowie, soaking up plenty of farm as they stand right up against the tower line. That should pull Sabbath back in to try and even that back out.
Should be a relatively easy time to gank for Sanford Soccer if he really opts to go for it, but he's going to go for some invades instead of go pressuring the right side of the lane. Solar Troll has a good dominance in that laning phase. He has 5 stacks of Warrior's Blessing over Bra, and that's simply because as a ranged mage, you're able to just position, you're also outranging the melee characters. Bra has to get a little bit close to the thick of things and use that Ghastly Breath closer than necessary. And then when he does use it anyways, gets silenced out. It's a huge counter matchup in the soul lane.
Yeah, Hades is already a lane bully, even in like neutral 5-5 matchups, right? But against Cerberus, where it's very easy for him to interrupt him with the in the middle of the Ghastly Breath, as you mentioned, he has his own ultimate. She doesn't have to worry that much about Stygian Torment. I mean, Solar Patrol's in a good spot, and he's the Hades is a bully anyway.
And that's why Bra is opting to proxy between that tier 1 and tier 2. Could have been a collapse, actually, with Sanford Soccer right around the corner. He had the Anvil of Dawn if he really wanted to look for it, but instead just going to allow him to casually back on out of there. Blue buff coming up momentarily for very nice to me as Hades makes his rotation back in with the teleport, picking up a Bancroft's Talon Rush. No mobility, no health to speak of. Solar Troll wants all the damage in the world to make his Pillar of Agony even do more damage while he's a sitting duck.
It's a great item for Hades, isn't it, Bancroft? It feels almost tailor-made for him. When he's sitting in the Agony, he gets low, doing more damage. He loves to sustain inside the lane. He's going to be doing more of that, too. I mean, it just works for him. But he could be in trouble now as Cope comes in. Has to drop Pillar of Agony so he doesn't get pulled. He is returning good damage onto Bra, but it's not enough. No death for below available, and the overhead kick puts him down.
And that's a risky business. Using your dash in laning phase. The beautiful thing about Hades is you don't need to use your dash to apply the blight anymore. You use your silence. But Solar Troll got really far ahead of himself, wanting to do some damage onto Bra with the death from below, with also the fear tactic. Didn't even time it against the Ghastly Breath, a little bit mistime. And the way he was positioning himself, he had his back towards the jungle, so he didn't even see Cope coming at all.
Really just no way for him to answer that one. And Cope doesn't even have to use the blink for it. A really casual walk-up gank that he was able to get done there in the solo lane. So he's even primed to gank again. He would not have the ultimate available, but blink is enough to cover ground. And with the root and follow-up, he's got plenty of damage. So you might see more from him, but surprisingly, we hadn't seen much for Sanford Soccer until now. He drops in onto Bra and gets very nice to me, their first kill.
Using the Anvil of Dawn, catching the doggo slipping. A good trade out, honestly. These underworld gods not having the easiest time in the world so far. These junglers making it annoying.
That's a great call. Aren't they supposed to be friends?
No. Hades is the owner.
Yeah, and Cerberus like guards the gates.
It's like the doggo, yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Nice dash away from the Wrath of Terror. Mosswall barely able to avoid that one.
Could have been in a very bad situation here in the middle lane, but able to just barely avoid it. Sabbath going to be waiting a little while for that Wrath of Terror to come back, but he does have the cooldown boots. He'll be back sooner rather than later. No harm, no foul as he comes back to join up with Sops in the duo lane. But yeah, totally, Hades, Cerberus guards the gate.
It's master-servant combination. Cerberus is just like, man, really, another day I gotta go guard this gate. Let me just go fight in the battleground of the gods instead.
So you don't want to be friends with your employees. You know, they work for you, right?
Sure.
Yeah. I like him keeping the line to their relationship clear as Solar Troll a little bit behind Bra now in terms of experience. We'll see if this wave equalizes it up, and it seems like it brings him pretty close. So still rather relevant here on this Hades.
Getting the second point in his silence instead of saving it at level 8 for the second point of the ultimate. It's always interesting to see how certain players max out their characters. Definitely want to max out silence second to increase the duration of the silence and of the fear. As Bra's going to look for some poke, but Cerberus starts to get the advantage at about that level 12 to 13 marker. Once he gets a little bit of cooldown reduction, gets that Void Stone available, he's going to be able to just spam more Ghastly Breaths than Solar Troll will have silences.
Sanford Soccer was waiting for a moment. I thought he might be going up into the air, but he's going to catch out Shaker rotating in. Bra now could get sandwiched, but there's no wall, one of the better tools to set up. Stygian Torment is going to force out the ultimate from Sanford Soccer. Shake and Sabbath are here in support, but Solar Troll is low. He is going to drop down with the Anvil of Dawn. Shaka gets the first kill. This Sanford Soccer has got to retreat with that apple ticking.
Trying to go into it is Cope. He uses his Mystic Rush. Shaka finding the double. Cope getting taken into the sky by Pain de Beyond. And Sleepy passive, not enough. Shaka with a hot triple.
Wow, just not enough here from Very Nice to Me over there fighting inside really their own jungle. It's a great start to that fight with Solar Troll and Sanford Soccer there, but Shake able to get too much damage off. Sanford Soccer has to retreat, or things might even get worse. Cope not going to dive the Phoenix. He's not that crazy.
He doesn't have the blink. If he had the blink, he was guaranteed to go into that. Looking for Wowie under the tier 2 tower. playing with fire being this deep, losing a lot of farming potential, but back camps just waiting for him casually on the left side while the rest of his team secures the gold.
No chance for anyone to come contest this one because they had a very annoying level 9 Robin bothering them by their tier 2 towers and phoenixes. So in the end, his team able to very comfortably grab that objective and put themselves out to about a 2,000 gold lead. They're up 5-1 in the kills with a bunch of experience to go right along with it. This early game looking very clean from Armada.
Armada are just out-rotating very nice to me. That's what it's coming down to. Maswell was nowhere to be found in that last little skirmish. Sheikah was having such a presence of mind to look for those stripes, to look for the unruly magics. Sanford Soccer uses his ultimate to prevent the Stygian Torment knockup, but Solar Troll doesn't respect it. He holds on to the Pillar of Agony, thinking that he'll survive at the end of the day and maybe look for some return damage. If anything, if he used that, he could have instantly canceled it after getting some of the damage off and then just walk away. But instead, he gets pulled into the thick of things, and he was a quick casualty, and the rest of the team fight slips into Armada's favor.
But I like that Armada are trying to punish this mage over here in the solo lane. And it's hard to think of Hades that way because he's so annoying and hard to kill. But he's really not at this point. He's trying to be tanky by way of just like healing through stuff.
Yes.
But it's just not coming through. Even when he's in that Pillar of Agony, Armada are able to kind of burst him through. Even with Sanford Soccer dunking back down, it wasn't enough because Sabbath was right there to help out too.
Solar Troll missing some of his abilities. Very unfortunate there. He's probably getting into his own head a little bit. This glass cannon build is not going to favor him in the boxing exchanges any further. Bra with the Void Zone has plenty of magical protection and penetration with the aura, with the Ghastly Breath to start making an impact on Solar Troll.
Maswell in some trouble underneath the tier 1 tower. Up in the air is Sanford Soccer looking for the dunk. Sabbath going to be the target. Final Judgment comes through, but the two-man strife with the Golden Apple combination and some unruly magic for good measure is going to set up a kill. Sabbath takes down Pain to Beyond as well. 2 quick kills in the mid lane for Armada.
All 5 Armada members are right in the mid lane just to find those 2 kills. Perfect disengage out of Cope. He was baiting himself just long enough under the tier 1 tower. Uses his overhead kick even just to apply some damage, but then he has a secondary escape, the Mystic Rush, just to avoid the mess from Pain Beyond, the Anvil of Dawn from Sanford Soccer, and just a long-range follow-up from Sheikah's Golden Apple off of Sabbath's Wrath of Terror is what allows Armada to win these team fights. It kills out Pain Beyond, it spreads to Sanford Soccer, and there was no hope for either of them.
And you highlighted already, Toli, it's just the rotations, right,
Yes.
from Armada. I mean, look at their kill participation. It's 6, 6, 6, and 5 from everyone except Sops, who hasn't been there anyway, right? It's absurd how much they've all 4 been a part of all these fights so far. Bruh's been rotating. Sabbath has been there. Cope and Sheikah have been a roving 2-man death squad. So our Armada are really fighting as a unit here in this early game.
And I'm just seeing more engagements from Cope as opposed to Sanford Soccer. Sam is just playing the cleanup crew instead of being the engager. You have an Anvil of Dawn. The only thing he's done thus far was help kill Bra in the solo lane immediately after Solar Troll dies. Where's the pressure onto this Artemis that doesn't have a natural escape? Even if you were level 3, getting a wall, there was no beats during that early route coming from Pain Beyond. That was a prime real estate gank opportunity onto this Artemis.
That's right. These hunters have been free to sort of just kind of do them, you know, just enjoy their life over here in the dual lane so far. They've maintained, they're relatively even, though Sops is coming out a little bit better, I think, just getting a little bit of that global gold the whole team's providing when they do things well for them. But so far, Sops a little bit out in front of WoW, but not by anything to write home about.
And with the Discordia passive, look at the player damage. Cope is at the top of the game, top for his team, and he's getting all this extra physical power to be even more obnoxious. Now working on his Transcendence for a little bit of cooldown reduction and just more mana to spam his abilities.
And a little bit more cooldown, too, because, you know, overhead kick needs to be on a shorter cooldown, apparently, for Cope. I mean,
why not? You already have 20% from the Jotans, so you add 30% on top of that. That 12-second, you're looking at about an 8.4-second overhead kick. It's pretty
Seems good. I'd use that. I'd play that god more often. Robin's pretty good. He's leveling at last, though.
Oh, that's surprising, actually. That is
a little bit
really surprising. Because in laning phase of the solo lane, maybe you max out your third ability so you get extra healing. But as a jungler, you're only hitting one target anyway. The root duration stays the same. The only thing that scales is the damage, the healing. Cooldown stays the same for the most part. So if you're only hitting one target in team fights, it's not that beneficial. The overhead kick does almost as much damage. You're only getting 50 less base damage than the root at max rank, but you're getting such a shorter cooldown. 12 seconds versus the 18. It's so important to max that second ability.
It really is interesting, but Cope trying to make sure that he's getting the max damage out of Sanford Soccer. Not quite able to find anyone with the Anvil of Dawn, but he does force them back just by using it. Gold Fury has been pulled yet again. Pain is going to walk forward, but Braud keeping a lot busy in the backside. In fact, might be doing more than keeping him busy. Wow, he has to leave. Pain getting controlled. Gold Fury goes to Armada.
Pain Devion gets rooted in place, gets the golden apple. Stanford Soccer in trouble on the left. Braud caught in the Pillar of Agony. Solo Troll gets a double.
He is able to come in and find a few kills, able to get a nice heal up between Sops and Sabbath. He's already taken down Braud and Cope, but Gold Fury went the way of Armada. If they can get out of here, this can be clean.
Good
Very
heal.
nice to me. Trying to restrain, but Solar Troll gets another kill. That's 3 for him here in this fight. Sabbath has to run.
Wowie is here as is Mosswall. The target is Sheikah.
That's great.
A nice kill. Can they get the deicide? Are they going to die this tier 1 tower? They won't. Gold Fury did go for Armada, extending it to a second one as Mosswall misses the stun. Wowie going to try to chase this down, but that's a very tanky level 12 Sylvanas. Great rotation from Solar Troll,
Yes.
really turning that fight around. And honestly, that fight would have went a little bit better for Very Nice to Me if Sops didn't use his ultimate perfectly to avoid the epic uppercut from Pain Devion, granting him that CC immunity during the epic uppercut. Beautifully timed.
And really, the fight was so good from Armada. Braud does such a good job forcing out Wowie early on in that fight. Sheikah is helping to control Pain Devion at such a high level. A lot of those times, we'll see them still drop that Gold Free and just take the fight, especially when it looks that good. But they committed onto the Gold Free the whole time. And I'm not saying the call's right or wrong. Those are just the two options we see a lot. And this time, because they stay on the Gold Fury, they're not able to capitalize on the fight right away.
And off of that one team fight, just the one, Solar Troll skyrockets in the player damage charts. Too many group members during the Silence Devour Souls combination. The more people that are next to each other, the more the detonate damage becomes, the more the healing benefits from it.
And that's what Very Nice to Me does so well, isn't it? When things are going so well for the other team, they answer back. Sabbath in some trouble. He's been isolated.
Sabbath is dead.
Root's going to land from Pain Devion. Epic uppercut sends him up into the air, and Moswell's right there to follow up. Sabbath falls early, but Pain is going to be joining him soon enough. Sam for Soccer goes up at the Anvil of Dawn. He's going to look for Sops on the back end, who has nowhere to go. Sam takes him down.
Going for it is Cope. He uses the overhead kick just to go away, but chasing him from beneath is Solar Troll, getting his 5th kill of the game. A slow start, but a great transition in this mid-game for the Solo Hades.
He's been a monster here in this mid-game, as you said, 2 for 3, and they're going to look for the Pyromancer off the back of the Solar Troll. Does get striped, goes underneath the Unruly Magic. Pyromancer is secured. Looks like that went towards Very Nice to Me. A Solar Troll trying to find someone else here in the jungle, and yes, that is going to be the Pyromancer for Very Nice to Me.
Good idea for Solar Troll to zone away Sheikah. That does way more damage than Bra will any day do, honestly. But could have probably found a kill onto Bra if he made that Presence of Mind to switch targets instead with his dash and look for the kill. But instead, the rest of the call was to disengage immediately from the Pyromancer. Bra can definitely steal that away if Very Nice to Me aren't careful without the Final Judgment, which was used originally to kill Sabbath. There is some steal potential.
I really like that fight, though. We saw Sam for Sunker do, for one of the few times, find someone in the fight that he could target out. This time it was Sops, who didn't have beads or Aegis. Aegis just came off cooldown. He was kind of alone in the back of the fight. And Sam for Soccer just like lays into him and removes him very early on. When Sops have been kind of free to operate in these fights, it's been tough for Very Nice to Me. But that time Sam for Soccer does the jungler things and is able to find the backline carry.
Also without the board that was used trying to save the life of Sabbath originally. quite enough to save the support's life, and that's the jungler mindset you need to have. What relics are not available, what ultimates are not available, who's out of position. Sops without any sort of natural escape between jumps or dashes is a prime gank opportunity for Sanford Soccer, and that's why I was so surprised that he wasn't getting ganked earlier on in the game without the beats from Pain to Beyond's original route at level 2 or 3.
And remember, this game started off with Cope really having so much pressure. So maybe that's the problem. I mean, Cope couldn't really decide where to go. He has to try and respond to Cope, who got off to such a great start as Wall and Strife both off the mark. So everybody kind of just, you know, we forget about that.
Trying to make something happen around this Gold Fury as it's about to respawn in 35 seconds. Armada, they were the ones that got the first 2, but this game is starting to slowly climb back into very nice to me's favor. Sabbath goes in for the knock-up. Solar Troll caught between no man's land.
He even takes the apple back towards the rest of his squad. Sanford Soccer's hurt, has to use beads just to get away. Strife not going to land. Sabbath doesn't have any more control, but Cope is thinking about it. He's wrapping around on the back of this tier 2 tower. So is Bruh. They want to try and sandwich in. Blink goes. They do drop the root as well. Sanford Soccer has Aegis, so he makes it out. Bruh now locked inside the tier 2 tower. Has to use Stygian Torment and brings Pain to Beyond back in.
Oh, Sabbath gonna take some tower shots. Wowie very low, forced to retreat. The board is just ping-ponging every which way. Cope, Mystic rushes into the tier 2 tower to eliminate Wowie. No time to even use that airstrike, and perfectly timed engagement from Armada, because look what is up. Gold Fury is up, and there's only 3 members alive for Very Nice to Me to defend.
Night and day difference when Solar or Troll's not allowed to be in the fight, huh? When they take him down early on, Armada were able to pretty cleanly walk through that fight. They can't come and grab the Gold Fury, but they grab the tier 1 tower. They grab themselves quite a few kills, and they're looking a little bit more comfortable.
See, the thing is, Solar Troll is not that tanky quite yet to absorb all this damage. He's a level 19 Hades, yes, but only finished off Voidstone and Breastplate of Valor. Still working on that Hide of Urchin. He needs to be that secondary follow-up. So the fact that Armada caught him out of position is just what allowed the rest of the fight to trickle into their favor.
Well, Gold Fury now being looked at. Pain to Beyond is here. Strife gonna land and get Wrath of Terror. Armada secure the Gold Fury, but Sanford Soccer's up, and Cope is the target yet again. Can't bring him all the way down. The apple lands on him, so there's no way for him to leave. He finally goes to the hammer, but Sops doesn't let him teleport. Pain to Beyond is low on the backside, so is Cope, but Pain gets put in the passive and taken down early. Double kill for Sops.
Solar Troll is here, looks for the Pillar of Agony, only catches out Sabbath. Couldn't really find that second target, walks over the trap, not going to be able to chase anyone else down. 2 for 1, and Armada secure themselves their 3rd Gold Fury of the game, extends their lead to even 5,000 gold.
In a very comfortable position, as we got a brief pause coming out there for Cope. We'll get everything situated there with those players. But if you're only giving up Sabbath to get 2 kills and the Gold Fury, I'm sure they're feeling all right.
They're definitely screaming worth all the way to the bank after that one. And something needs to change for Very Nice to Me if they don't want to go to a Game 3, because they have the utility tools to force a lot of beats, force a lot of relics between Aegises as well, but they're just not timing it very correctly. When Pain to Beyond goes in, it was just a little bit too late anyway. He took way too much follow-up damage. The Gold Fury was too low anyway to confirm. Moswell was not in position to really steal that one with the final judgment, and I think that this is Armada's time to really get into Game 3. They need to keep grouping up and use their goal lead while they have it.
Yeah, they look really comfortable right now in these last couple of team fights. Solar Troll has kind of turned them around, but when he's either removed from the fight early or Very Nice to Me are forced to fight too staggered, as you alluded to, then they're able to move around a little bit more freely, our Armada. Like Sanford Soccer comes in to Cope on the backside, but because it's kind of just him, Sheikah's able to drop the apple on him to keep him from going to the hammer. Cope's able to escape because he has so much cooldown, has the overhead kick. When they're coming in staggered like that, then Armada are very much okay with the fight.
They're definitely feeling great with how Sheikah's been playing on this Discordia, sitting at 8-1-7. His stripes have really set up Cope in a lot of these engagements. Pain to Beyond going to get rooted, dashes away very cleanly. And this Discordia now is actually at the top of the player damage chart, so she's going to receive the benefits of her own passive.
Yeah, that baton of who's kind of running the team fights has kind of been passed around, right? A little bit Solar or Troll, a little bit Cope, a little bit Sheikah. Right now it feels like we're in Sheikah time as he has the Obsidian Shard, Book of Thoth, and he's ready to roll. Pyromancer being looked at. Pain gets pulled in. Wrath of Terra there to follow up. They even commit the apple on top of Pain, and Mystic Rush from Cope stomps him out. Solar or Troll is going to try and come in, but it's a little bit too little too late. Pyromancer now being looked at by Armada.
I think that they could still defend this, or at least look for a team fight, because that was 3 ultimates invested into the Kumbhakarna. Up in the sky goes Sanford Soccer, looking for a target, goes into the airstrike, Hope goes down.
And that was great synergy. Wowie was right there with the airstrike to go along with Sanford Soccer and removes him early as Solar Troll in a heap of trouble. Stagey and Torment gonna control him, pull him right back. Can't find the shots though from Sops, and Bra ends up falling. Sops just missed.
How does he live? Solar Troll, he actually dashes in without his ultimate, unless he just like used it real quick just to cancel it at the very end of it. But either way, a clean 2 for nothing, or 2 for 1 after Pain to Beyond falls could allow Very Nice to Me to actually sneak away this Fire Giant once they get healthy.
Yeah, can we see these charts? Because it looks like it's been kind of slowly coming back in a little bit towards even here. Yeah, now we're down around 4,000. What was once about a 5,000 lead slowly coming back in. Experience all but normalized at this point here, totally. It's only that 4,000 gold separating the teams. And Very Nice to Me want to put an end to that right now. They've got the Fire Giant in their sights.
The question is, can they force a team fight? This was where Armada fell in the last game when they didn't leash the Fire Giant to look for the team fight. Solar Troll has the ultimate. They could just kill Sabbath right here.
That Sabbath needs to be the target, but Sops doesn't have any relics either. If they can catch him the way they have inside the Pillar of Agony, then there's nowhere for him to go. Wowie takes him down. The apple goes all the way to the back, and they spread out perfectly, keeping everyone alive. But Fire Giant had to be dropped.
It's still fine, because without Sabbath or Sops, they could still try to go for round 2, just get some more sustain for themselves and look to go for the Fire Giant yet again. But Cope not going to let this happen. The Silence will pop the Mad Guy's cloak. Doesn't avoid the strife. Without Solar Troll, there cannot be another Fire Giant attempt.
No, that helps so much for Armada to slow down the Fire Giant push. Just Cope and Sheikah making a great play, catching Solar Troll kind of alone in the middle lane, lollygagging, lingering around. Not quite sure why it took him so long to group back up with the rest of the squad, but Sheikah and Cope catch him out. And now things will be a little bit harder for Very Nice to Me to grab this objective.
Solar Troll has moments of brilliance every now and then he just has lapses of judgment. But still, Very Nice to Me forcing the Fire Giant, even with a 1-member disadvantage. Stops reviving, but it's not going to be long enough. Look at the left-hand side. Cope too far away from the action.
Well, Very Nice to Me have the ward coverage. They know no one's here. Very Nice to Me grab the Fire Giant. Pain to Beyond sends Bruh up into the air, but they're going to keep looking for the fight because they have a ton of damage coming out from the backside with Wowie and Moswell. They bring Bruh down very quickly, and Armada Esports make no defense. Very Nice to Me, just like that, are back in this game.
Honestly, they surprised me too. I did not expect Very Nice to Me to try to go for that Fire Giant. A great call by whoever made it, and it wouldn't surprise me if it was the General. Pain de Vion, with so much experience under himself, has made plenty of those calls in his former Enemy days, in his former United days, just trying to make some of these plays now for his team of Very Nice to Me.
Gold Fury going to be grabbed by Armada, feeling like they can't defend the Tier 2 or get there in time, so they're just going to get this essentially confirmed objective for themselves. Tier 1 now could be in some trouble, as Very Nice to Me are making the rotation. Solar Troll here to kind of force them back, and they will grab the Tier 1. Might even look to push further, but Very Nice to Me have quite a bit of gold that I'm sure they wouldn't mind backing a spin.
As long as Armada doesn't lose any Phoenixes here, they're still in a fine okie-doke position to be able to defend. Their gold is still relatively clean and even compared to Very Nice to Me. They're not going to have the same region, despite them having Sylvanas as opposed to the Fire Giant sustain out of Very Nice to Me. So they have to slow down a smidge and hope that Very Nice to Me are going to clump up to allow Sheikah just to do Discordia things and catch multiple members with that strike.
And you're right, totally. You know, they'll still be in a fine position to defend, but it's so relative because Armada were ahead.
Yes.
You know, even if they do make it to the point where they're even, you feel bad because they should be out in front. And that Fire Giant defense from them is not clean enough. Very Nice to Me kind of sneak one away from them when, after they lost Solar Troll, they didn't expect him to go for it. Very Nice to Me. We know how strong they are when they have an advantage. If they come down and push this correctly, they could start to wrestle it away from Armada.
It could be even trickier for Armada to defend, considering how much range Moswell has on the Thoth. You also got to worry about the Anvil of Dawn Global out of Sanford Soccer, setting up his teammates. Pain de Beyond doesn't have the blink, so you don't have to worry about that, but you do have to worry about the Hades from Solar Troll with the blink. And that's going to be those relic burners that you have to keep in mind between Solar Troll, Sanford Soccer, and Pain de Beyond.
They're positioned like they want to defend, or at least on the back half of the tower. Some free poke on the Solar Troll, but look at Pain and Sanford Soccer. They're trying to isolate Cope on the right-hand side, now coming in to loop back around. But the rest of the team going to push forward. Sabbath drops the Wrath of Terror. Solar Troll does get knocked up. It takes a good bit of poke, but Sanford Soccer is looking for a dunk target. It's Sabbath on the back end. It's still not enough damage to take him. He picks Sabbath over Sheikah. Sabbath eventually falls. Solar Troll now trying to go in and get more aggressive. Sops falls too. Wow, he's the one that takes him down, but Pain goes alone and ends up falling.
He sacrifices himself for the greater good. Sabbath and Sops falling only for Pain. Allows Very Nice to Me to get this tier 2 tower, work their way towards a Phoenix. Pain de Beyond really wanted to eliminate Sheikah's life there. Only one death thus far in the Discordia. If Sheikah dies there with Pain de Beyond dying, then this siege becomes almost effortless, but couldn't find the ultimate.
That's right. It might even have been game-ending what Pain was trying to go for there, but couldn't find it, as Bra is going to get the Stygian Torment that controls SOT for a moment. Wowie in some trouble. Aegis lets him live through a little bit, but a double kill now for Cope as he sends 2 back to the grave. Moswall going to look for some shots, but just sets up a triple now for Cope, baby. Very greedy there for Moswall. Turn around trying to look for the kill. I think he felt like there was just no way for him to get out. Cope with a great play there along with Sheikah to set up the defense.
Needs to be a little cleaner, honestly. Bra's ultimates definitely tipping the scales of that one. Very Nice to Me weren't successfully able to find an opening that they wanted to, and Sheikah's damage off of Bra and Cope to follow up. It was almost destined to fail, honestly. They could have maybe went for a tier 2 tower, which would have been more guaranteed at the very least, but instead now Armada could look for themselves another objective. 55 seconds remaining on the Fire Giant, but they're not going to be able to get that uncontested. All of Very Nice to Me will respawn in time.
I understand what Pain was trying to do there with Sheikah, but I mean, if Pain de Beyond is back there near Sops to keep him alive, then we're talking about that entirely different, right? I mean, it's too bad that they don't have that Kumbhakarna anymore, and a great job from Cope to go into the backline and catch out some of those isolated targets. That is going to keep their Phoenixes standing, the tier 2 and mid still standing, but Bruh, very far forward. Very Nice to Me tried the further collapse, but Bruh's able to jump away.
Not able to really get anything too much going there as Pain de Beyond eats one little ball of the Unruly Magic. Actually procs that Soul Reaver as well, trying to make something happen around the Fire Giant. Solar Troll going to get rooted by the Strife. Armada looking for some sort of poke before they go for the Fire Giant.
We're back on that Fire Giant dance. Sabbath gets controlled, takes a good bit of poke. But so does Solar Troll as Sops goes in. Forced into the ultimate is Sanford Soccer as Moswall was very low as well. Another big team fighting ultimate forced out from Very Nice to Me defensively, and Armada can look back towards FG.
Moswall was solo, he had to back, and that's why Armada are pulling the trigger on this late game objective. Without Anvil of Dawn or Final Judgment, this team fight should go Armada's way.
They forced Very Nice to Me, and Sanford Soccer is already teleported to the hammer, and Wowie has already retreated. Solar Troll drops the Pillar of Agony, but Sanford Soccer falls early. Solar Troll gets one in return, so does Wowie. 2 for 1, 3 for 1 so far as Solar Troll gets the double kill. Armada do come in and grab the Fire Giant. This is smart on the back end to at least get it since they end up losing the fight.
Oh my goodness, Armada just kind of casually giving themselves up. Sops was on the Fire Giant the entire time. Now the chase down onto Sheikah. His only second death of the game. It's a 4-on-1. This could be game. They don't need Fire Giant to end here, Finch.
It very well could be, but it is still Sops standing. He doesn't have the ultimate. If he can find some shots, maybe. But Phoenix on the right-hand side is going to fall to Wowie very quickly. They even grouped up around the minions to get the nice heal from Solar Troll.
They're not going for it.
Very Nice to Me with Sabbath coming back up in a few seconds. They're not going to risk it. They're just going to go grab, it looks like, this tier 2 in mid.
Not going to risk it considering that Sops has the damage while Sabbath has the control. Even without Wrath of Terror, it's still annoying to have to worry about the pulls and the roots in place while you're trying to juggle all this Titan aggro. So at least grabbing a Phoenix in response. Only Sops with the enhanced Fire Giant. Not sure if it's enough to really get anything off of it, considering now there needs to be defense on the right side lane as Armada really needs to find a way to get some clean objectives. I like the fact that they forced Moswall back. They got the Anvil of Dawn away from Sanford Soccer. But if you're going to pull Fire Giant, you got to either all commit quicker than that or just go for the team fight. Not both at the same time, because that gives some wiggle room for Very Nice to Me to make a play on you.
Yeah, it very much seemed like Sops trusted his team in the 4v5, right, to kind of zone everybody back. But in the end, it really did not go their way. They ended up getting kind of walked over. Sops then decides just to commit onto the Fire Giant, at least make sure that that's not left up for Very Nice to Me to grab and then push with. So in the world where he's not a part of the fight, I like that he just grabs the objective and takes it off the board. But as you said, if they're not going to commit onto it, go join the fray.
Something better than nothing, I agree. Because if Very Nice to Me had the Fire Giant and it was only Sops alive, then that would have been problematic. The regen would have been just good enough that even with Sabbath respawning, everybody would be super healthy from the Chaos side to be able to secure the victory there, even with the Tier 2 tower mid still standing.
Yeah, I think they go for the end in that situation. But either way, they're ready to push now. No Fire Giant, no problem, at least on the side of Very Nice to Me. They grab the Tier 2. Phoenix in right has already been taken. Ultimate's all back up for Very Nice to Me. Sanford Soccer has the Anvil of Dawn and is ready to come dunking in.
Looking for some long-range poke, probably, with Mosswall and also the stuns from Sanford Soccer. It's a great synergy between those two. But the way Sanford Soccer is positioned, he's just going to casually push out that right side lane, allowing more Firemans to get closer and closer, and rely on more of his Anvil of Dawn than his Tectonic Rift.
That's right. He's the one that can get right back to the fight quickly, even if he's way over in the side lane. Goes up for that Anvil of Dawn, looking for the target. Sops could certainly be his selection from the way he's hovering. He does land right back and help them clean up Sabbath early on. Epic Uppercut is going to remove Sops, but Moswell falls in the back end too. So far, it's a 1-for-1 support for mid.
That's a great favor for Armada without having to worry about that final judgment or the long-range damage. It's a 2-for-1 Armada. They're holding on to their middle. Phoenix.
They have defended successfully, it would appear here, for Armada as they push Very Nice to Me back. The Fiends on right already fell, but they defend mid. Phoenix, they force Very Nice to Me out of there. They're even surging forward a bit. They're going to be clearing the mid wave the whole time and trying to look to reclaim a little bit on the back end of that fight.
That was an interesting way this team fight unraveled because of all the focus onto Sabbath. They killed him even before the Wrath of Terror was used, but maybe too much attention onto the Sylvanas all-in commit. Instead of using your long-range poke, there could have been so many opportunities for, you know, the Sanford Soccer wall into the long-range poke from Moswell, but instead they wanted to all-in.
Solar Troll goes aggressive on the Sops, does force the beads in Aegis, it looks like, out from him. Sheikah has his Aegis force as well, tries to get the apple off, but to no avail. Sanford Soccer gets him. Solar Troll gonna turn back around and grab Sops as well. It's 4 against 3. Bruh in some trouble.
Oh no, Bruh trying to run away. Solar Troll trying to find the chase. Doesn't get the slow off, but he gets the fear. Sanford Soccer looking for the stun. Gets it for now. Pain Beyond in position to look for more control.
Bruh is going to jump away, make it back towards Sabbath, but Very Nice Team are continuing to push. A stun comes out, so Solar Troll has to fall back. It's against 3 members, but Armada don't have their damage dealers. No Sheikah, no Sops. It's just Cope, Sabbath, and Bruh to try and hold back this entire squad. In fact, Sanford Soccer going to push down right, and they're pushing right in on the Sabbath underneath the mid Phoenix. He'll survive for now, but Wowie's coming in to provide the damage.
And there's no Wrath of Terras that was used to save the life of Bruh defensively. Cope can only watch as this middle Phoenix gets lower and lower. Final judgment and the damage from Sanford Soccer good enough to take out Armada's jungler. And this time, Very Nice to Me looking for the end.
Yeah, Cope gonna have to watch through black and white now as they move into the Titan room. Epic Uppercut comes out into Sabbath, and it's not enough to defend. Very Nice to Me in a 2-0 take the set over Armada Esports. If you were still wondering, Very Nice to Me are still looking like the top team here in North America, undefeated.
A little sloppy there towards the end. 36 minutes of play, and it was actually the 24 kills of Very Nice to Me versus the 26 out of Armada. So Armada were doing a good job in certain team fights, but they couldn't get the objectives cleanly. The Fire Giant took too long to secure by Sops alone, while the rest of his teammates were falling one by one, trying to zone. And then the counter siege in the middle mid lane actually sealed their fate.
Armada are close, but that gap definitely still exists between that top team and second place. Very Nice to Me continue to look dominant, and they continue to look strong there in the SML. I mean, these teams are all strong, but Very Nice to Me, that's the one we're going to be seeing here at LAN. We'll go ahead and get it back over to the desk and hear a little bit more thoughts from them.
Congratulations, Very Nice to Me, making their way to the desk, toppling over Armada.
And our Armada, it was just, again, it felt like a bit of a repeat from the first game. They had so much control over the early and mid game, but once it started to break out into a little bit more of the latter part of mid, where Very Nice to Me start having their itemization online, their power spikes are starting to be met, and that was when we saw the team fights start to be brought a little bit more in tow and more in favor of Very Nice to Me. One thing I do want to point out, though, I actually really like the way that Tolly phrased it. Actually, mid-cast, it was solo or troll has those moments of brilliance, but then severe lapses of judgment. I think that very nice to me coming into this land. The one big thing that they really need to try and start doing is giving Solo Retro a little bit more like tips and advice for map awareness. He just had so many different moments where he was constantly getting picked off by like 4 to 5 members of Armada in circumstances where realistically he probably shouldn't have even been there to begin with, because there's 4 to 5 people from the enemy team and he knows that they're there, but he still challenges them. And it's those little over-aggressive moments that can kind of be a very unappealing, I think, at a professional level of play, because you don't want your solo laner, of all people, venturing off on their own accord. And I think that very nice to me going up against Insignum even, who is arguably around that like lower end of the SPL caliber team for Europe.
For sure.
I mean, Pain and Solo, they've beaten them once, but what's to say that, you know, a team can't adapt to your playstyle and they can't like be watching your sets? I think that Solo Troll can kind of let the lead play him a little bit, so just needs to bring it a little bit more reserved. That's about all I'm asking for. He did really fantastic plays throughout the match. Don't get me wrong, like the Pillar of Agony's timing, very strong, so much patience and a lot of setup there, but just needs to make sure he doesn't get picked off, because I think in more complicated sets, that could be very problematic.
Yeah, certainly something that the scouts at home are taking a look at. Very nice to me, though. Despite those, the poor plays had many more good plays, and that's going to be the winning team here. Very nice to me. First overall in the SMITE Minor League. Let's take a look at the snapshot of how everybody lands. And yeah, smiley face up on top, as we would expect. 10-0 for the North American. Very nice to me. Also, 10-0 for the European Insignum.
It's a heart smiley face, though.
Is it?
You can't hate on it. It is a heart. It's a heart with a smiley face in the center of it.
It is. It is. It is.
I like to think that was Moswell's idea.
It probably was. He did play the Aphrodite.
Moswell just knows how to bring people to Flavor Town.
He certainly, yeah, I'm going to let you take that one. Great job from our minor league teams here today. These guys are going to find themselves at the Summer LAN, and if they get called up to the Pro League, they might even find themselves at Worlds. All you have to do, though, is buy tickets. HighResExpo.com, and that'll line you up for your tickets. It's November 16th through the 18th, and you're going to see SMITE and Paladins there, as well as a slew of other esports. And
it's always exciting to get a chance to meet some of the other fans of the titles that you're interested in. There will also be plenty of other games to explore, and of course, downtown Atlanta. That's a pretty fun place to be. It can be very exciting just getting out there and learning a little bit more about the city life.
Yeah, a ton of attractions. You got all the esports, you got the aquarium, you got Coca-Cola, you got a ton of things to do, Centennial Park, and of course, you've got the SMITE Pro League. We're going to get that a little bit later. 3 p.m. is when we start, a little bit over an hour. Is that? Yeah, it's 1:30. Yeah, a little bit over an hour. I'm going to try to get a haircut. You should try to do something too and show back up at 3 p.m. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Bye.